regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington. It is Tuesday, October 12, 2021. It is 7:01 p.m. I will ask the administrator to please call the roll.
Sure. Trustee Burke?
Here.
Trustee Hayes?
Here.
Trustee Perkins?
Here.
Trustee Scheller?
Here.
Trustee Thompson? Trustee Van Ryn?
Here.
President Richardson?
Here. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item 4 this evening is approval of the minutes in 3 parts. Minutes of the Special Committee of the Whole of the Board of Trustees from September 7. Minutes of the regular Board of Trustees meeting September 7. And minutes of the Special Board of Trustees meeting September 27. Are there questions for the administrator on the minutes? There being none, Chair would like a motion to approve and block agenda items 4A, B, and C. May I have that motion, please?
So moved.
By Trustee Perkins, may I please have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Van Ryn. Thank you both. The clerk will, the administrator, please call the roll.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Scheller?
I'll abstain since I was not here for the meeting.
President Richardson?
Yes. Chair would also like to ask for unanimous consent that the record remain open for a period of 5 business days for any necessary technical conforming amendments to be submitted to the clerk relative to the amendment without objection. So ordered. Agenda item 5 this evening. Got a lot to do tonight. And appreciate everyone being a little patient. We've got, as I said, we don't get company like this very often. So we'll do the President's remarks on a number of items here. And then we'll go to agenda item 6, which is the first opportunity in the agenda for the public to address the village board on non-agenda items. So we'll start with, and I'll yield to the treasurer and to the administrator relative to the introduction of Brian Leahy.
Sure, but before we get to the introduction of Brian Leahy, we have to first say goodbye to our accountant, Deborah Vernon. Deborah, can you please come up to the podium? Yeah, treasurer first. Since I'm normally doing that. Great. So I just want to say a couple things. So the flowers are from President Richardson and the Board of Trustees.
They're beautiful.
For those of you who don't know our accountant, she's very shy and says she didn't want a big to-do, but we couldn't send her off without saying a couple of words. So I thought I would start just to let you all know that it has been my true pleasure for the last 4 years since I've been village administrator to have the pleasure to work with Debbie on a daily basis. Debbie started here in 2005. That was 16 years ago, which is quite an accomplishment in and of itself. We've known each other for a long time, and this has just been so great. One of the things I appreciate about Debbie is her thoughtfulness. On my first day here at Village Hall, she comes in with a spreadsheet, of course. It has all of the financial and accounting deadlines and critical dates and issues all worked out for me of when I would need to do certain things with the finances. And I thought, wow, this is really great. This is, it really moved me that you did that, Debbie. The other thing I appreciate about Debbie is her tenacity. So Debbie's been trying to teach this engineer for the last 4 years accounting, and she hasn't given up. Accounting and engineering math just don't mix. So I'm grateful for your tenacity and for trying to teach me, and she's done a great job. But one of the most important things that I appreciate about you, Debbie, is your attention to detail. I can't tell you how much between her and Treasurer Hirsch they're working together and the professionalism that it really makes my job easy and it makes me look really good. I don't have to worry about anything, preparing the budget-wise or dealing with the auditors. It just has made my work here really easy when it comes to the finance and accounting and everything. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. We're going to miss Debbie not only as our accountant, but more importantly as our friend. So,
Oh, thank you, that was so sweet.
Chair would like to recognize the treasurer.
You have to stand there so I don't get anyone talking. So I wrote a little bit more because
Oh, my goodness.
yeah. So I'm part Irish, and so I had to write things down because I thought maybe it would help me not cry. Because I think my kidneys are by my eyeballs. But anyways, so I am really going to miss working with you. I'm very sad. It's not going to be the same here without you. I think of anybody here, I best understand the contribution Debbie has made to the village. It's a consummate professional, tireless public servant, above and beyond her job title. I mean, consistently. I used to say to her, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. But that was kind of meant partly a compliment, but partly like, just stay in your lane, for God's sakes. You can do everyone's job, and you did yours just so well. And I think we all really appreciate that. I started here at the village 8 years ago, and I can still remember my first day, and I know Debbie does, because we've chatted about it since then. But I had been up most of the night. I have, at a time, my high school junior son, never before been in trouble son, had gotten into shenanigans during the night. And my husband and I were up most of the night, and I was kind of a wreck. And my first day work, I come in, and I'm relaying some details, and she's looking at me, and I go, oh, this is not a good first impression. You know, I literally had just met her. And so I sort of zipped it up, and we just kind of regarded each other with this little bit of curiosity. And we kind of went from there, and then it was a short while after that, I like to play golf, I like to play tennis, I play these sports. And I mentioned that, and she said to me, oh my God, I did not know you were one of those ladies of leisure. And I was like, how do I answer that? I was like, oh my gosh, it's strike 2 in the first impression category. I was just like, now what do I do? Anyways, after 8 years, I hope I've changed that impression, because I know it wasn't a very good first impression. And we've really gone from, like I said, regarding each other with this curiosity to being colleagues, to trusted professionals, to really just good friends. And I'm just going to miss that relationship that we had. And even with a little bit of fondness, and this might sound really odd to some of you people that aren't accountants, but if you ever took beginning accounting, you learned T accounts. And we're probably sounding like dinosaur. Brian's probably going, oh my God, T accounts. But we actually use T accounts here every now and then. We'd have these complicated accounting transactions, and we'd go, let's do T accounts. There's nobody else I would rather do a T account with. Looking back on it. But all kidding aside, Debbie has spent days, hours, weeks putting together procedures to fill your shoes. And we're going to have your voice here with us, and we're always going to have the comfort of knowing what Deb would do. And most people don't leave their job with that kind of, that's how you spent your job here, and that's how you're leaving, with just great integrity and really a sense of ownership. So I think we all appreciate that. So please come visit, especially during budget time. That is when Debbie really shines, during budgeting time. I mean, you're what you've given to this board in the sense of a budgeting template and just the procedures that we did. By far, no one is better than you, by far. So that's pretty much it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mean, you've made me look good. I know Karen says that too, but you've made me look good. At least the last years I've been here. So like I said, I'm just really going to miss you. Godspeed. Enjoy the journey. Stay safe, but please stay in touch.
I will.
So.
I promise.
Debbie, before we as you know, it's our custom to have the trustees go around, so I'd like to do that because we all have something we'd like to add, and then we'll be pleased to have you offer any rebuttal you wish to.
I will just do a big smile.
Let me begin on right with Trustee Hayes.
So Debbie, I've known you a very short period of time, and I can't even begin to recognize all the effort because I wasn't here for it, but I will say this. been around a lot of financial reporting over my whole working career. And coming here and just seeing the quality, the accuracy, and the simplicity in which the message of all that complexity is done, very well organized. And I really appreciate being able to come in. Any citizen can look at it too and understand it. And I know that's a testament to you setting up the systems, your organization, clearly working with the team here to make that seamless and transparent. So I wish you well in your next chapter in life, and thanks for your service to the village, and thanks for doing everything you've done.
Thank you so much.
Trustee Perkins.
Yes. Debbie, hello. Debbie, you have been absolutely lovely to work with, and as Mr. Hayes said here, you are so, you have such an attention to detail. Everything is just really mapped out for us. You've just really been wonderful to work with, and we had some fun at the barn stomp, putting the barn stomp together, so that was a lot of fun too. I wish you well, and keep in touch. Thanks a lot.
Trustee Scheller.
Thank you, President Richardson. Well, Debbie, we got a lean and mean office staff. And you were a vital part of that lean and mean office staff, but a vital part because of the involvement with our dollars and our cents and everything else. And I know a lot has been accomplished in the last couple of years to make that more transparent and more knowledgeable to us. And it's much appreciated because we're really in pretty good shape, and we appreciate the work that you and everyone in the office does. Over and above that, Trustee Perkins mentioned the barn stomp. And Debbie, I don't know if you recall or not, I'm sure you do, I don't know if anyone else in the audience does, but Debbie was in charge of the children's activities at the barn stomp, and has been since, or was, from day one. And the amount of organization, the amount of involving volunteers, the amount of satisfaction by the young people that participated in all that. I mean, you went over and above what's expected, and as far as I'm concerned, that adds to just the benefits that you provided to our community, and I'm so grateful for that. And obviously going to miss. You also came up when I would collect the funds that we would have when we collected money from our firm.
Yeah.
And Debbie gave me some seed money, and then she also made sure that I retrieved all that money and gave it back to her. So we were all in good shape. I think I got 20 for me and 20 for you. It worked out fine, Debbie. It was wonderful. But no, thank you, and all the best to you. And I got some relatives down in Sherwood. Just have a great time. Be safe, be healthy. But thank you very, very much for everything.
Thank you, Jen.
Trustee Burke.
Hi.
We're almost done.
You're almost through this.
Yeah.
I was only a little disappointed. I sat down, I saw the flowers, and I thought they were for me. I was looking for the ticket, but I couldn't find it. Well, you have been our only treasurer in my tenure here, which I think is about the last 14 years. So you are all I've ever known in this role, and you have from day one been the consummate professional. You have your attention to detail, and you hear everybody saying it, that's so true. Even more than that, you hear about going the extra effort. I've been around accounting people all my life, and there are accountant types who just keep score, but then there are the accountant types that go beyond that with their own curiosity and their own input on what do the numbers mean and how do we interpret those numbers, and how did you help us understand what the numbers were trying to tell us? And that's what makes a great professional person in that role, and you did that. And above all, you're just a great person and somebody who was fun to have around here, and you had that unique balance of your actions always spoke a lot louder than your words, and it's not always the case. Some people like to talk, but you always walk, but you did it so quietly, and that's so refreshing. So enjoy the next phase. I have some advice. As a somewhat retired person myself, take all of our numbers, make sure they're all in your phone, all of our names, and when you see us call, do not pick up. You are free to call any time you feel like chatting, but when you see us call you, do not pick up the phone. There'll be a question that we can't answer, and you're no longer on the hook for that. So thanks for everything, and we wish you all the best.
Thanks, Andy.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Debbie, I have not had the pleasure to work with you as closely as some of the others being new to the board, but after hearing all the wonderful things about you, it's my loss, our loss. But we wish you all the best in your next journey, and thank you for everything.
Great, thank you.
Debbie, I get the pleasure of adding cleanup. That's the joy of sitting in this chair. You and I started together. I became mayor in 2005, and you joined the staff in 2005. And like Treasurer Hirsch and like my wife, all three of you are accountants. God did not give me that DNA. And the patience that you exhibited for what were probably foolish sounding questions on basics are so appreciated. I'm going to let, for the benefit of others here tonight, we have an engineer and we have an accountant and we have a lobbyist. My business is politics. If I ask the accountant what is 2 plus 2, the accountant will tell me it is 4. If I ask the engineer what is 2 plus 2, the engineer will tell me it is the midpoint between 3 and 5. And if you ask the government affairs guy what's 2 plus 2, we say, what do you need it to be? And as a result, you know, and I looked up this today in advance of this evening. It's not often that a guy like me reads the Journal of Accountancy, but there was an article in there that I talk about municipal fraud. And I'm a worrier. I'm a worrier by temperament and by nature. And I think the highest praise I can give to you, and it's so well deserved, is with all the things I really worry about, real and imagined, I never for a millisecond ever worried about the integrity of our financial management. It's great that you're competent. It's even more great that you have honesty and integrity completely in your work and in your character. If I were to look at try to summarize it in one word in terms of your legacy, you leave an elegant legacy to those who will follow. We're very, very grateful. We hope even you enjoy your retirement, and as Andy said, we won't call you, but you should call us when you want, because you've done a magnificent job. You've done a magnificent job. I'm happy to recognize you for any comments you'd like to make.
I will say a few sentences. You guys were just always so sweet and so kind in all your remarks, and I appreciate that. And I really like working at the Village of Lake Barrington. I started when my daughter was 6 years old, 16 years ago. She's 23, second year teaching kindergartners, and my life is in a different spot. I've always liked my job, like the people I worked with, and tried to leave it better. You know, every day try to just do something that improves things. And so I'm looking forward to retirement. My husband and I are probably going to travel just locally. I like the idea of just sitting out and looking at the birds in my yard, in my garden, and maybe taking care of my parents some a little bit. They're a little bit older, and just enjoying life. But I appreciate all the opportunities that the village gave me throughout the years. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm now happy to yield to the administrator for purposes of introducing Brian.
Sure. Sorry, Brian, that you have to come up after this.
No pressure now.
Brian Lay is our new accountant. Come on up, Brian. And Brian is with Lauterbach and England, as you all know. And Brian is going to be introducing himself. He's got a couple stories to tell you.
Yeah, just a little thing.
And you can take your mask off at the...
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I want to start off with just saying that how gracious Debbie was when I came. I mean, she has, like Treasurer Hirsch was saying, procedure after procedure after procedure written for me. She's been staying a couple hours after to get those procedures perfect for me. So I really, really do appreciate it, Debbie, all that you've done. But to introduce myself, my name is Brian Leahy. I grew up in Lake in the Hills, kind of nearby here. Attended Huntley High School. After high school, I attended Illinois State University, not Notre Dame, Illinois State, and that's where I received my Bachelor's of Science degree. majoring in accounting, of course, minoring in economics. I started working for Lauterbach and Amon in January 2018, which I've had the pleasure to work at some local municipalities, to name a few: Village of Cary, Village of Barrington Hills, Village of Sleepy Hollow. Responsibilities range from accountant to finance director. I'm married with 3 small dogs, Chihuahua mixes, and have a baby on the way in April.
Well, Brian, welcome aboard. We're
Yes.
delighted. While you were clearly aware you're filling some really big shoes, we're very grateful for stepping up, and of course to Debbie for facilitating a smooth transition on this. I'll be asking you the same dumb questions I used to ask her.
That's okay. I have Debbie's number if needed.
She'll pick up your phone.
Do trustees have questions? We're very grateful you're here, and welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have a proclamation for CFC's 50th anniversary. Karen, have that been put in the packets?
I think it was,
Okay.
but I don't know. I printed out.
Is that your copy?
That's my
May I read yours?
Sure.
Thank you. The Village of Lake Barrington has had, and Jim Vanderpool, why don't you come up from the organization and we can kind of recognize.
Yeah, we got Jim.
Yeah, Jim and Steve, you want to come up to the podium, please? And they gave us during the committee of the whole earlier tour of the Savannah on 14 in Cuba that they've been looking at. For the benefit of folks who don't have a prior awareness of Lake Barrington, open space preservation and enhancement has been a key priority of the village for a number of years, and a partnership with Citizens for Conservation has been part and parcel of that. They, along with the Lake County Forest Preserve District in our community, have been instrumental. Kind of some fun things. Jim was sitting almost where his father was the first time I met him in 1999, talking about tree preservation, oak savanna preservation. The property of 14 in Cuba that people drive by all the time was for sale, and the village bought it and said and worked out a deal with CFC that if they would maintain it, we would sell it to them as a parcel at a time as they were able to afford it. And a permanent, I hope this is right, a permanent covenant runs with the land on preservation. Correct. And that way we could preserve that open space forever for generations to come. The other thing, and both Jim's late brother and his late dad were great about this, is it wasn't always easy because we'd have controversy like any community, and CFC always had remarkable integrity in their actions. Sometimes we disagree, but not very often. We share a common vision, and the combination of the two is one that, going back to my weakness in accounting, it's a 1 + 1 = 3. Because it really does bring the best of our ability to foster policy and your ability to drive volunteer interest and effort. What you've done along Miller Road is simply astonishing and remarkable. And the work that you're now doing with 14 in Cuba is every bit as much. And thank you for taking this out this evening as it became twilight and showing us the progress, because it's wonderful to behold. Buckthorn is not our friend. It is the enemy. And so we want to make sure that we have proper stewardship of the environment, and we're grateful. CSC just completed its 50th anniversary, and so we have a proclamation for the board this evening. We will read the proclamation, vote on it, and then recognize you gentlemen for any comments you may have. Proclamation honoring Citizens for Conservation. Whereas the Citizens for Conservation is a Barrington area nonprofit organization incorporated on March 17, 1971, St. Patrick's Day, after area residents met to discuss the impacts of suburban growth upon Barrington's environment. Whereas the CFC mission is saving living space for living things through protection, restoration, and stewardship of land, conservation of natural resources, and education. And whereas the CFC uses cutting-edge ecological restoration techniques, along with the hard work of its members to contribute to initiatives such as the Healthy Hedges and Flint Creek restoration projects to help make Lake Barrington an oasis of gracious countryside living. And whereas the CFC has a unique volunteer-based approach, along with expertise and success which have led to its recognition for conducting the best restoration work in North America. Its expertise provides a powerful tool for regional leaders in the greater Barrington area as it works to engage citizens in the protection, stewardship, and appreciation of historical landscapes located in an interconnected, sustainable environment. And whereas the President and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington recognize the growth and accomplishments of the CFC, and commend the dedication of its Board of Directors, staff, and volunteers. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the President of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington, Lake County, Illinois, that the Village of Lake Barrington expresses our congratulations to the citizens of conservation in its 50th anniversary year, along with our appreciation for its many contributions to the community. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
May I have a second by Shelley? May I please have a second?
Second.
That was a quick one. Therese, seconded by Trustee Van Ryn. Thank you both. I'll ask the administrator to please call the roll.
Trustee Scheller?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
President Richardson?
Yes. Gentlemen, we're grateful for the great partnership, and we'd be happy to hear your comments. I'd like to first go around and have trustees have the opportunity to make comments, as is our custom here. I'll start this time on my left with Trustee Van Ryn.
Thank you,
And
President.
by the way, thank you for drafting the resolution. This was written by Therese in her job, so thank you.
Absolutely, and it was my pleasure. It was a pleasure earlier this summer to attend the luncheon and to have the opportunity to meet you, see some of the great work going on in the community as well as we did this evening. So thank you. It's truly a passion of yours and all the volunteers that work so hard each and every day, and the results are amazing for all of us. So thank you.
Trustee Burke.
First of all, great demonstration tonight. Well done with the 8-point, 10-point buck that sauntered right in behind you like something out of a movie set. It was phenomenal as the sun was setting. But as we were discussing, I'm very fortunate, we all are. My community backs up to Grassy Lake Forest Preserve, which was a front row seat to the restoration that was going on there. And you know, those kind of things, particularly as visible as that is does a great job of educating the public, because of curiosity. People say, why are you cutting this? Why are you burning this? Why are you doing this? That gets people's attention even if they don't really understand. And then all of us get educated. We have, you know, this responsibility to help educate on what you guys do and why it's so important. It's not a hobby or just a passion, as you guys were saying. It may be all of those things and then some, because it's really important to our community that this is a big part of what we do, to the health of our land and the health of the people who live here. It's just so important that we do these things. So we know it's a lot like public service sitting up here. You don't get a lot of congratulations and kudos. Eventually, when people see and they figure out what the bigger plan was and it comes to fruition, hopefully they come back and say, wow, thanks for all that time and energy that you guys put into doing something amazing. So you know you have your friends in us in this community, and we're extremely appreciative of what you guys do.
Trustee Scheller.
Thank you, President Richardson. An oasis of countryside living. That's what the village proclaims itself is, but a vital part of why we can even say that is due to the work that the Citizens for Conservation have done for 50 years. I think it's kind of a thankless job. You guys go out there, you do the buckthorn, you cut the stuff, you do all this kind of, and all the hours, go out, collect seeds, replant them. The open space that we have just didn't happen overnight. But we had a lot of open space, but what do you do with it once you have it? And a vital part of why the open space that we have now looks the way it is due to the many volunteer hours that the Citizens for Conservation have done. And therefore, an entire amount of gratitude to you, to all the volunteers, to the many hours that you put in, And I'm so happy that our village has been able to assist to a certain degree in that further development. So I mean, it's, thank you very, very much. But a lot of what we proclaim is due to what you have done. So thank you.
Trustee Perkins.
Yes, thank you very much. That was an amazing presentation. Oh, sorry. That was an amazing presentation and little walk almost through the woods. And yeah, like you said, the buck was right on cue. Yeah, very educational and something that I think, everyone should look into and know. You guys have got a lot of information that I think the community could benefit from. So thank you so much.
Trustee Hayes.
Definitely appreciated the history of the parcel we saw there, but that aside, I was in the Army for 34 years and I came to appreciate living outside, whether I wanted to or not. But just what you're doing and all the properties, and I've been around the last couple of years, I've had a chance to drive around and you see your signs, but to bring that back, you don't appreciate the beauty till you live within it. And I was very appreciative of your story you told, but more importantly, getting the word out so people can appreciate the work you and the volunteers do. Really don't understand it until you can live in it. You're right, that buck was majestic. There was a buck and he didn't take off, he was staring at us. But thanks for all you're doing. I'm a big fan after tonight, learning what you've done down here at Kiva Road, but all the things that you're doing, so thanks for everything.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Please, we welcome any comments you wish to make.
I just, I've been with CSC for, I think, 11, going on 12 years. And the one thing that I learned over time is when you're in a community, you have to have, we call it relationships. Relationships are really critical. The relationships go from donors to members to partners to all kinds of various ways where the people in the community give to us, and then we run it through our system. Our system is really built very, very much on the volunteers and the partners. And when you put those two together, I was telling one of the gentlemen this evening, I can make a case where through these things called ecosystem services, those are things that nature gives us. And so we take what we get, we run it through our system, we at fairly low cost because of the partnerships and because of the partnerships and because of the, anyway, never mind, volunteers. And people like yourself that we're very happy with the relationship. It's almost like a partnership. Sometimes it is a partnership. And so I think that is really critical to our success. And with that, we can actually return, I looked at these ecosystem services, things like fresh air and clean water and flood control and erosion control and a little bit of carbon sequestration, which is a big issue in this day and age. And we can deliver just on those ecosystem services alone, based on what we get in terms of money and what we get in terms of volunteers and what we get in terms of the partnerships. My reckoning is we do about a 5 to 10 times return on investment, which is just fantastic. And we love doing it. The fact that we have the partners and the volunteers, everybody is very, very passionate. Everybody that comes out and spends their time sweating in the summer and freezing in the winter, it's a very much of a passionate, and we really appreciate the relationship we have with Lake Barrington.
Thank you. When you first started doing the controlled burns on the property along Route 14, I did get a few phone calls because people thought it was a fire rather than a controlled burn. Because you see the news on what happens out in the west, and people, but I think now, as Trustee Burke was saying earlier this evening, people are kind of really into it and want to know when's the next one, how much more. And for people who haven't been, when you drive up Flynn Drive there, you can see the progress in the various sections that you made starting 10 years ago to more recently to very recently. And you can and certainly can count on our continued cooperation and support.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Chair's going to yield to Trustee Burke for purposes of introducing our guest from the Delnico Steakhouse, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, President Richardson. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Nick and John Domanico. You guys would mind coming up to the dais for a moment? We've been talking about you behind your backs for several months now, so I thought I would talk about you guys to your face. But there's considerable excitement around this dais and beyond in our households about the work that you all are doing, about to launch your new restaurant in Lake Barrington. And we are absolutely thrilled that you chose Lake Barrington as the location, and we remain unbelievably committed to working with you together in partnership to ensure not only a successful launch, but a long, successful life, which is very selfishly motivated for some of us because we are really excited about having a place so close to home to go. And we think this is going to be a start of a really, really special partnership. So we welcome you. I'd just like you to, introduce yourself, talk a little bit. This is not only to us, but this will go out to our residents. So it's a little bit of time to brag a little bit about what you guys are building.
Well, I'm Nick Domanico, and this is my son, John. I had been in business for over 40 years in the area, starting in Lake Zurich. I was in Barrington.
Can you talk a little bit more? You got to go right into that point.
In Cary also. And I was retired, and my son worked with me in all my endeavors as he got older. And so we got a couple customers together that wanted to do another place with us that live right in town here. So, and we always liked this area, so this was perfect for us. And we started this up, and it's going to be a nice, my background is actually a butcher, my father and my grandfather, so he's the 4th generation in a small business, which is almost unheard of today. So this is more than just a job, it's a way of life in our family. And my grandpa came from Italy, and he started in this business. And my dad, and I went to college, but I do this, and my son went to college, and he came back to this too. So we're going to sell high quality wine and regular wine, because I'm a wine person. Me and my son have been all over the world for wine. We've taken trips for that, and we go to Europe quite a bit, so a lot of our food is European. And we are also a steakhouse, so we have an aging case there that age the meat and stuff like that. So a little trattoria or a tapas, because my son does that. So kind of, it's an exciting thing. But
and plus we'll be desserts. So. But the big thing my dad sort of hinted at was being in the business this long, in this area so long, we have a great connection with a lot of our customers that when we were out in the last year, and they were just always there behind our back saying, get back in it, we miss you guys, we want you. And that's like the ultimate thrill, to just know that you got somebody behind you in full force. And we're gonna have a great place there in a great community, and that's the sky's the limit for us at that location, and we can't wait to serve the first drink, cook the first steak, and be honest, bring in the first dollar. So
we look forward to being the first restaurant.
And those will most likely be people sitting up here.
But what we'd like to do is, as you've seen, is I recognize the trustees for questions that they may have. Trustee Van Ryn?
I have so many questions, but I'll keep it limited. Do you have a target date in mind to open?
Yeah, we're looking at mid-November right now. So I know we're on the process of getting the sign put up on the awning, so that's going to be nice. We're putting it up for most of the plaza. We're in the middle of hiring everyone, so just once we get the inspections completed, we're almost ready then. So
John, she chairs the communications committee for the board, so we want to try to help get you as much earned media as we possibly can.
And one other question, do you have plans for outdoor seating?
Oh, yes, we have that beautiful outdoor patio that we look forward to.
We're gonna renovate it in the spring, and, you know, we want to get started. And when we open, we won't be using it until next spring. But we'll come back for, you know, to talk about how we can make it look.
And then also we're looking at the big grassy area out there. We have been talking with the landlord about doing some nice events out there, wine dinners, tastings, farm to table. So a lot of good plans out there, so.
Trustee Burke, do you have any questions? I know you have better acquaintance here than...
No questions. I mean, I just want to say again that it's been, from my perspective, we've had many conversations over the weeks and months. It's been a real pleasure working with you two, and they're passionate and they're professionals. They're doing this the right way, and you know, that's our brand. You know, it so fits our brand of what we want to be, and that's why this is so exciting for us. And that's how we know it's going to be a great partnership, and that's how we know the people of Lake Barrington and beyond the community are going to support this endeavor and make it wildly successful for you guys. So again, we just welcome you and encourage you that if any time you need support from the village, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
Trustee Schauer.
Thank you, President Richardson. You talked a little bit about your background and history. For those that might be unfamiliar with your past background and locale, just, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I began I've been in this business for, I hate to say it, 50 years. So, I mean, when I was a kid, I started with my folks and my grandpa. I was 15, and I've been working in it ever since. And my first place was in Bell's Apple Orchard, if you remember.
Yeah.
So that was something. I mean, I had no money. I opened, and back then, you know, 20 grand, you could open a place.
Yeah.
Today, 20 grand goes by in a week. You know, so,
Get one steak.
yeah. So, but then we went. You know, I had a place in Cary because I bought a place out there while I was still in
Pills.
Zurich.
Yeah.
And then I had a place in Barrington for a while on Route 14 down in town.
Oh, okay.
So, and that was, you know, I sold all these places and you know, and then this is like the culmination of all my work is to do this. I got somebody young to do the work. I just got to do the thinking, you know.
And what is going to be your feature steak? Prime rib or something?
Well, you know, if you go to Italy, they got a Florentine steak. So that's a porterhouse steak,
Yeah.
and it's usually for 2 or 4, and then you carve it for the person, you know, you bring it to the table. It's seasoned a certain way, so that would be probably our signature steak. But we have a lot of other things that you don't have to get just steak. There's tapas, so you can do little plates, and you know, you can have a nice kind of light meal. Doesn't have to be a big steak, but we got really good
We have a
steak.
tomahawk too?
Yeah. It's all gonna be prime beef. I mean, real prime. So, you know, everybody says they got prime beef, they don't, you know. That's just, you know, it's more than just, USDA prime is the best meat you can buy. And, you know, people can say prime steak, but it's not the same as USDA prime meat, so. That's the good thing about our case that's aging, and you'll have the sticker on the meat that you see. It's really what we say it is, you know.
There was one other question I was going to ask, I can't remember what it was. Anyhow, but in availability, because people are saying now they can't get meat. Do you have any problem with that?
No, we can get all the stuff. We know the right people, yeah.
Flying in from Florence, whatever.
Yeah.
Hours, you going to be lunch and dinner or mostly
No,
dinner?
just,
Dinner we're looking at right now, Tuesdays through Saturdays, 4 to 10. And then the bar will be open till 11. So we got a great bartender we hired, she'll be our GM, and she used to own SIP in downtown Barrington.
Oh, yeah.
Tammy, so she's going to be a great partner with us moving forward, and yeah, It's a really great cocktail menu, beer menu she's putting together. So
Can't wait. Can't wait. We could use a really good steak place in this area. Can't wait. Thank you.
Trustee Perkins.
I am so excited. Okay, I love everything that you said. You're gonna have some high-end wine. You mentioned high-end wines, and you know you've got these lovely steaks that you're speaking of. So you said you have. Would you consider yourself high-end or?
No,
I mean, you know, just to let people know.
We're looking for a whole group of people. That's why, you know, even at our old place, we would do like big steaks. You know, steak is expensive.
Yeah.
So we do other things too that are, because that was our forte, was the tapas or European kind of cooking. And so there'll be a lot of that too. And, you know, wine pairings, like what kind of wine do you like?
I'm a Pinot Noir.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
or-
see, I like Burgundy. That's the best Pinot Noir. That's where it's from, you know? So that's the original Pinot Noir. But, you know, California and Oregon, they got good stuff too, but
Yeah.
no, that's good wine, okay.
Excellent. Let's see, what else? Do you have like, are your cows, have they been living underground? Is that what the deal is? The secret cows? No, I'm kidding.
But the company we're buying from, I didn't buy from them at my old place. I had a company like them, but it was such like a natural way of growing the animal and respecting the animal, taking care of it. So it's very European because that's how they are in Spain or Italy, France. They take care of the livestock, and it's better food because of that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what drew me to these people.
I have heard this,
Yeah.
that if you treat them better, it produces better meat.
Yeah, it's true too. Yes.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, we are thrilled. I have so many friends that are just thrilled. We cannot wait. Oh, one more question. Mark DeMonico.
That's
He's Kevin and my neighbor. Yeah, he lived right next door, and I'm a very good friend of mine. So yeah,
Tell
he
them
mentioned.
that I taught him how to play the guitar.
You taught him how to play? Okay, that's excellent.
They'll get really mad if you
Yeah.
tell them that.
Thank you so much for coming on, you guys. We can't wait to hear from you and hear the great success.
We're going to be, before I recognize Trustee Hayes, just so I don't forget, we have an amendment to the liquor license, and so after we finish this part, we'll go right to that, so you don't have to stay.
Okay.
Trustee Hayes.
Well, first of all, I had my first steak Florentine in Florence, and I got to tour all the vineyards in and around Florence.
Oh,
so
yeah. That's
hopefully have a little Chianti Classico.
Yeah.
No, I look forward to it. I
Did
like
you go to Montecchino?
I do, and actually.
So that's some of the best wine in the world. That's the Brunello, it's called. It's a different kind of grape than regular Chianti. It's a thicker skin. They call it Grosso. That means a heavier wine, more tannins.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed that trip, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a different venue here in town. I love what you're telling me you're doing, and the fact that your butcher's really intrigues me because that's what makes the meal.
We actually have like the tools of the trade in the back of the restaurant because we do our own stuff. You know, we cut our own steaks and stuff.
And you're right,
We grind our own hamburger, make our own sausage. So all this stuff is all made there. And, you know, it's all very...
That steak Florentine was for about 4 people.
Yeah, that's...
It's not for one, so.
No.
But no, welcome and glad to have you and look forward to visiting your restaurant.
Thank you.
John and Nick, I'll just add a few things. And Trustee Burke and I were joking with you earlier. The Italian and the Spanish reds are particular favorites of mine. A nice Montepulciano.
Yeah.
Or the Tempranillos are, the Spanish reds pair so well with red meat.
Yeah.
And they really are very striking. Like you, I've spent time in Europe, and they're also a good buy. I'm surprised they're as inexpensive as they are relative to the quality of the wine. Some of the Italian wines have gotten a little pricey, and of course the Californians, but we're thrilled that people who have a passion for this. So we're all talking to you as future customers, but there's another part that I want to speak to for all of us, which is we admire entrepreneurs who come and risk their capital to make our community better. I own my own business, and nothing keeps you up at night like worrying about a business that you started. And you're starting it at the end. Everybody hear me? The end of the pandemic. And so we're excited for that reason. But I admire you for having the wherewithal and the courage to do what makes America great, which is to start a business. And I hope that you're finding the labor help that you need, from the labor force.
No, we are fine.
Yeah, we're picking and choosing, which is good.
Well, that's a
We've
good
got a lot of connections with other business people that are helping us find people.
That's true.
So it's been good, yeah.
We have great confidence in what you're going to do, and we appreciate you having confidence to invest in us. And the welcome mat is always out here for you as a business owner in our community. Thank you. We'll come back to your ordinance in just a minute. We've got two more folks to introduce you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's fine. Only one more. Okay. Michelle Timos, would you come up, please? I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and make some comments, but Michelle works for U.S. Congresswoman Lauren Underwood, who unfortunately we're going to lose because the new map takes Lake Barrington out of her district, as I understand it.
Potentially.
No, it hasn't.
But we are still your representative until...
We hope that you guys stay for a long time. I shared with Michelle, my daughter works on the Hill for another member of Congress from Illinois. I met my wife there. And the job of the district director, which is what you do, all of the big attention is always the bright lights around Washington and what's going on the Hill. But service to constituents comes through the district office. That's where the casework is done. You're the ones who have to meet the local governmental leaders, for better or for worse.
Get to.
Yes. And so we have deep appreciation for public service in this community, and we welcome you to provide any comments you wish. First, a little bit about yourself and the Congresswoman. I've had the pleasure of meeting her a couple of times when I was in Washington before the pandemic, and then more recently here on a Zoom call. But and then we'll go around for questions that people might have.
Sure, that sounds great. Well, my name is Michelle Phineas, and I'm the district director for Congresswoman Lauren Underwood. Our nearest office is over in Crystal Lake, just off of 176. And so, the Congresswoman represents kind of the northern part of Lake Barrington. I think it's the Lakeland Estates neighborhood largely. And then the rest of her district kind of extends from Hebron down to Lisbon, Illinois. I'm not sure if you're familiar, and with parts of Lake McHenry, Kane, Kendall, DeKalb, and DuPage counties. I have, some legislative update. I mean, I'm sure you all have been following the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act and the Build Back Better Act, which, Congress is currently in the process of working on and passing. And could go into details if you want, or if folks just have questions, happy to do that as well. As President Richardson mentioned, our office does constituent services work. We had a pretty busy summer. The Congresswoman had a series of town halls across the district with, lots of constituents coming in, and it felt really kind of good to be back and gathering in that way again. We're also continuing to do virtual office hours where constituents can make an appointment with the Congresswoman, speak to her over Zoom, and sort of offering constituent services in that way too for folks who would like to engage virtually still. So,
thank you. Let me recognize, starting on my right with Trustee Hayes for questions.
Thanks for coming tonight. It's learned a lot that I did not know until just now. Did not realize that part of Lake Barrington was in one district and not another. But I'm new trustee here, and I appreciate you. I served in the Army and was a commander of the National Guard, so I have an appreciation for the whole political process and the importance of it. So thanks for your service to the constituents and to the nation. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Trustee Perkins.
thank you for coming out. I have no questions, but thank you for taking the time to come out to chat with us. Of course.
Trustee Shell.
Thank you, President Richardson. Obviously, we thank you very, very much. The village is dependent upon any assistance that we can have from anywhere, from local, state, and obviously the federal government. I know there have been some communication between our village and the representative. And as I said, any consideration, despite all the challenges that is now facing our government that could benefit us, obviously we very much appreciate it. And I know there's been good communication between your office and the village, and that's important too, because there are many times when you reach out and you don't get much of an answer. So you're a vital part of that. We appreciate it, and any assistance you can give us, help. Thank you.
Before I get to Trustee Burke, just to add to that, John, I started in Congress in 1978, so I've been doing this a long time. And I'm not blowing smoke because you're standing here. Your office has been the most communicative of all the members that have served this area in the 25 years I've been. And I look at it with a fairly proven eye. So I get correspondence, and I can see your handiwork in it because I know who does that. You do a good job reaching out to your mayors. I hear from you all the time, and I'm grateful for that, to John's point. We're going to get about $660,000, and the thing that you were very helpful with was helping Karen with figuring out how much are we going to get and when are we going to get it. And since Trustee Hayes chairs our finance committee, that's of great interest to him too. You went out of your way to ferret that information out. And so to answer John's point, we're grateful. Trustee Burke.
Michelle, it's nice to finally meet you. Thanks for being here. I chair the village's COVID task force response team, and when we talked about communication, I typed your last name into this little device, and the emails that I have from you are in the hundreds, not tens, the hundreds.
I believe it.
Maybe close to 1,000. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing. And I read them all, and you and Representative Underwood's office have been incredible with your communication. Particularly, these things show up in times of crisis. Not only your support, but just disseminating the information and making sure that we are all aware. In these times, you need to over-communicate. And it's okay if you get it from multiple sources, because you don't want stuff to fall through the cracks and it's too critical. So thank you really for how diligent you've been with your communication. We enjoy working with you. Appreciate your support.
Of course, thank you.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Michelle, thank you so much for being here. I'm very impressed. You talked about the many town halls and the virtual office hours that the representative has been hosting. What would you say is the #1 issue you're hearing from constituents during those sessions?
We heard about a lot. Obviously throughout the pandemic, it was the recovery and how do we support small businesses? How do we support our nonprofits that are providing vital services? And then, sometimes just how do we support the family that lost their job and that sort of thing. So I think people have their eye on recovery still. We're still hearing a lot from communities that do need some additional support for infrastructure, their roads, all of that. So there's been a lot. There's been a lot that's been going on too. So another really big piece has been healthcare, and the Congresswoman has sort of really made that her top priority when she went to Congress. And we've had some, kind of exciting accomplishments. So her big piece of legislation, the Healthcare Affordability Act, which makes, marketplace premiums available to more people, was included in the American Rescue Plan. And that is temporary as it is now. So, the Congresswoman is pushing to have that made permanent in the Build Back Better agenda. So lots of things that we're hearing from constituents, and kind of covering the big region that we have. So thank you.
Michelle, on a local level here, if we weren't, in the interest of time, I won't talk about infrastructure and reconciliation and stuff, but locally, the Fox River and the chain of lakes and the lakes that dot northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin are a big part of the quality of life here. And there's money in the Recovery Act for a lot of things there. In fact, we're going to try to look at something, we'll come to you at some point on for Flint Lake, because it's in desperate need of dredging. Are you finding that the environmental issues are percolating, no pun intended, with your constituents?
Yeah, I mean, the Fox River runs the length of our district. So, you know, flooding around the Fox River water quality is always a big issue. And then, you know, the inescapable climate change issue. People are very concerned about that and bringing that up more and more. So, yeah.
Thank you. Well, we're very grateful for you taking time to join us. So please let your boss know that the welcome mat is out for her as well. I was with one of her colleagues, Congressman Danny Davis, over the weekend at an event in Chicago, and told her that you were coming on her behalf. So you're welcome here, and we're grateful for your time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. It's nice for you to spend the evening so far. We can move to agenda item 12A. Liquor license amendment to the village code. Does the village attorney wish to say anything on this?
I certainly can. The Mancos have applied for 3 different types of licenses. A Class B, which is the full on-premise license to serve any kind of alcohol in the restaurant. And then they've also applied for a Class F, which is an outdoor license. And they've applied for a Class L, which I'm trying to remember what that one is.
That allows you to bring your own liquor in.
Oh, BYOB.
Yeah.
And so this is a very simple ordinance. It lays out how many licenses the village has in each category, and then gives you a complete list of who holds those licenses, including.
Are there questions for the village attorney on this? Okay, then there being none.
I have one.
Oh, please, trustee.
Just trustee Hayes, is there anything unusual about a request like this? It seems.
No. So, you know, one of the
Great question.
strategic approaches that we use in our villages, and most villages use, is they don't pass an ordinance to create the license until they're ready to give it to somebody. So the applicant's already passed all their background checks, and they're ready to go, and we're lining this up to a specifically designated for them, and somebody can't come in and say, oh, I want that license instead. And the point of the process is that no one can make us pass an ordinance to create a license. And so the village is really, keeping the maximum amount of discretion to determine who gets those licenses.
Understood. Thank you very much.
It's one of the real police powers that we have to protect public health and safety, so thanks for pointing that out. Further questions for the village attorney on this? Do you know the ordinance number? Oh, bless you, thank you. Chair would like a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-0-13, an ordinance amending the Lake Barrington Village Code, section 2-3-6, classification of licenses. May I have that motion, please? Moved by Schaller, seconded by Burke. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll ask the administrator to please call the roll.
Sure. Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
And President Richardson?
Yes, thank you. Gentlemen, you are good to go, and we're grateful. Again,
Thank you.
we want to be there on the first night.
That's right. We'll be ready.
Thank you.
Age those stakes and tell them.
Yeah. Agenda item 6 is the first opportunity. We had a long president's remarks tonight, which is unusual, so we'll get into the rest of the media agenda now. Agenda item 6 is the first opportunity for the public to address the board on non-agenda items. Is there anyone seeking recognition? Sure. Thank you. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Norton. I live at 2206 North Kelsey Road. I'm here because of a lot of noise coming from my neighbors, Matt and Rhonda at Tail Chasers. I would like there to be some sort of, I guess, rules in place so that I don't have to listen to barking all the time. I have a little speech prepared if you want me to prepare it. If you want to wait for Rhonda to get back, we can do that as well, or whatever. Whatever you want.
Just to make sure, this is the first time I'm hearing this. You live in what used to be the Robertson.
The Robinson House, yes.
Right, north of Kelsey Road, coming up Kelsey Road from 14. On the left side as you're going north.
Do you remember meeting me when the tree got struck?
Oh, I sure do.
Yeah,
now I do.
You learned more than half about road trees then, so I have a little bit more cleaned up. But yeah, so I remember came over and so that's my house, and Tail Chasers is behind me. And like I said, I've mentioned this before to Karen in the past, and tried to seek a resolution and was unable to do so. So things have gotten kind of bad between us, you know what I mean? And nobody likes to be fighting with your neighbors all the time. My dad pointed out that some of the members of the board pictured Lake Barrington as being an oasis, a monumental oasis, and Andrew Berg mentioned about we like to do business with people who do business the right way, and I would like to do business the right way, but I guess I'm looking for like I said, some sort of rules that can be enforced, because I'm not doing well over there. I hear barking nonstop. Like I said, I created a little speech. I've been working hard on that. I would like to
You welcome your comments for the record.
Yeah. It's hello, and thank you guys all for taking the time this evening to hear me. I'm Sean. My name is Sean Norton. I'm 36 years old, and I've lived in Barrington my whole life. I love it here, and it has always been my dream to own a house here and to live in Barrington and live in this community ever since I was a kid. My family's here, my friends are here, my career is here, my life is here, and I love it. My father and my mom, they live in the community. We run our own general contracting business that he has run for over 40 years out of Barrington. They have a couple of dogs, Scooter and Tank, that I love a lot. I would love to take them out to my yard and let them run around, and I take care of them when they're out of town and everything. I do love animals. I create a strong connection to animals. I love animals. When something bad happens to them, I cry. When they pass, I mourn it very hard. One of my favorite things about living in this area is that I'm able to help my parents as they get older. Things like shoveling the driveway, raking leaves, trimming trees, or watching the dogs. Whatever they need, I'm close by to help for when they need it. For those of you who may understand, my parents have had a 381 number, 2 381 numbers before there was even area codes in this number. And those were really hard to attain back in the day, and that just shows how long we've been here. And I have plans on staying here and making my life here as well. Like I said, living in Lake Barrington area has always been my dream. No matter what it was, whether I was foregoing social events, not going on vacation, buying off-brand clothing, I was saving every dime for 10 years so that I could buy a piece of property in the town that I love and grew up in. When we found 22206 North Kelsey Road, it was like a dream. It's an absolutely beautiful piece of property that I love and will allow me to pursue my other dreams of not only being there for my parents as they get older, but also to take over my dad's business, start a family of my own, and provide my children the same opportunities that my parents provided me, that have been really giving me a blessed life so far. Our business, like I said, is designing and building luxury homes in the area. We're currently working with the Village of Lake Barrington on building a home in the enclave of Lake Barrington. We've already built a home there as well. We have great homeowners there with great recommendations for us, which is exciting because there's still a lot of lots available in the enclave, and we have hopes to build more there. And we take great pride in our work as well and doing things the right way. And a lot of our advertising is just in the quality of the work itself, which is awesome in my opinion.
when this lot became available, it was really exciting, and I was obviously very interested. My parents and I visited the property multiple times, and there was never an issue with the noise during these times. This was in January 2021, so it might have been winter, it might have been COVID, but there was never an issue with the sounds. We did notice that there was a kennel behind the property during our visits, so we did our due diligence and researched the laws, and I did print out a copy of the laws that does not give exemptions to kennels or tail chasers on the laws. I didn't read that anywhere when I was doing my due diligence. I did read that there was a noise ordinance, and I kind of thought that these laws would be enforced, and said there was no exemptions against it for them not to be enforced. Right now, what is happening is the dogs are being let out at 6:45 a.m. every single day, including Monday and Saturday. This is not one dog, this is not two dogs. This is like 5 to 10 dogs. And they intentionally lock them outside into their cages, so that I think, I believe this is something like that. We would clean the cages inside, and they lock the dogs outside, and what happens is there's a barking that goes on. There's 10 to 15 dogs barking at each other. And I have videos and everything because I've been documenting this because it's something that obviously I feel strongly about. I live there and my dream is being destroyed. They had 84 dogs there, and there's about 15 cages a weekend. There's about 15 cages. And what I'm assuming they're doing is rotating the dogs in and out of the cages as they can. So for about 2 hours, there's nonstop 10 to 15 dogs barking outside my window. Then, after about 2 hours or however long, how many dogs there are, that takes to clean the cages, they open the doggy doors, because they, like I said, they have them intentionally locked up. They open them up, and then they let the dogs freely walk in and out of their facility, and I can hear all the barking inside the facility because they have all their dog doors open, and then the dogs freely walking, barking at what's going on inside, barking at what's going on outside, and this lasts until 6 p.m., and sometimes later. I have documents of it going on, as late as 6:30 p.m., and this is not when they're doing like their training sessions. Sometimes they have training sessions between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. This is just them, saying, we don't really care about you, Sean. I mentioned this to Karen before. I sent her emails saying that, this was actually very new in my situation. This was June. This was in the end of June. That's when I emailed her. And she sent me back this memorandum from Mr. Bateman saying that based on additional documents which were provided to us this morning, this is the memorandum for them to have the right to have a kennel. It says, based on the additional documents which were provided to us this morning by the village, by Mr. Holtz, in our opinion, the original kennel was built in 1971 and expanded in 1972, and the dwelling unit which is attached to the kennel building, which was constructed for the most part in 1971 and were legally permitted, and each was constructed. The entire kennel-related dwelling unit becomes a legal, non-conforming uses in 1987, when in that year the village adopted a new zoning ordinance. It should be noted, however, that the legal non-conforming use regulations of the 1987 zoning ordinance provided then and still provide a legal non-conforming use such as these structures may not be expanded or enlarged. Please contact me if you have any questions. The email from Mr. Bateman states, Dear Mr. Norton, because Karen did not get back to me, Mr. Bateman got back to me. Dear Mr. Norton, I am the village attorney from the village of Lake Barrington. The village has asked me to respond to your recent email to the village administrator. Please see the attached memorandum. When I emailed Karen, I have my emails to Karen, I was asking what time are the dogs allowed to be out? What time are they allowed to be out on the weekends? And what can I do if they don't follow the rules? And that's what she sent me back with. During this time, it was Father's Day, it was a holiday weekend, I ended up calling the police on them because I couldn't take it anymore. And it wasn't exactly my smartest move. Rhonda had gotten me a care package, and she had brought it over to my house afterwards, and she talked to me, and we talked, and they said that, and I have emails from her, that we are going to make an effort to make things better. When I tell you that I had documentary of them letting the dogs out every day at 6:45 and sometimes leaving them out until 6:30, this is all after their email of them telling me they're going to do better. I tried to accept living with it because I had talked to Karen and I really didn't think that I was going to get anywhere. I tried, playing music, doing whatever I can, going to work. doing whatever I can to live with nonstop parking. Until it was about Labor Day, when I just, it was a holiday weekend, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I thought that I kept waiting for them to do the right thing, and I know that they're nice people, and I know that they have a business to run, and I kept waiting for them to do the right thing. It just never happened, and it kept getting worse, and it just never changed. This is my life. This is what I live with every single day. I can't get away from it. This was supposed to be my dream house, and right now it's currently unlivable. I can't even put a bed in my bedroom because the noise is so bad during the night that it will wake me up multiple times in the middle of the night when my window's closed. I sleep in the den. I sleep in the room farthest away from the dogs. Like I said, I brought this issue. I got this memorandum, and I still don't have the questions, the answers that I'm looking for. All I'm asking for is that you guys enforce the laws against them, and there's nothing that says that they have an exemption on that. When I did my due diligence, that's what I thought was going to happen.
First of all, Sean, we can't make a judgment tonight of any kind.
That's fine.
I appreciate you bringing this to our attention.
Obviously, things have gotten heated, and
I'm sorry for that.
yeah, I know, me too, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. I am. I don't want to fight with my neighbors.
No, nobody does.
I am doing things to try to solve the issue. I have an email. I'm getting we're building a house in the enclave, and I am getting a topography survey done on my property so that we can do a berm between us. We're going to take all the dirt that we excavate from the enclave and bring it to my property. They mentioned to me that they have actually drainage issues with water into the area where they run their dogs. So if I build a berm, since my property kind of leans that way, it should help them with their draining issue and go down to the culvert by the street. It all should be good. I don't have to cut down any oak trees on thank you. So we can maintain that because I love that, and I'm hoping that the dirt will at least take care of the problems where I can close my windows and get away from it. But I can't guarantee that will happen. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'll certainly invite you folks to come up in a moment too. First, Sean, I appreciate something else. I've been sitting here in this chair for a long time, and in the eyes of my critics, far too long a time. But what I've learned the hard way, and so I appreciate your tone in coming in. You didn't come in spitting fire and spitting nails. You've got a concern and a complaint, and we are elected to serve the constituents, you and others. So thank you just for coming in and being even-tempered about this. I certainly appreciate that because it makes meaningful dialogue possible. People come in screaming, shut down dialogue, and then nothing happens.
And I admit that, I did not take it well at first. And that's probably why I got shut down, you know what I mean? And that's why I tried to take it now. Like I said, I would like to find a resolution. I don't want to be fighting with my neighbors. And, I would like some sort of peace.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Like Mr. Bateman, I'm an attorney by profession. He's a real one. I only play one on TV, it seems. But the doctrine of grandfathered non-conforming use is a significant legal doctrine in Illinois property law, and I don't know how it applies here, so I'm not rendering any judgment on my part.
Yeah.
He renders judgment for the board on legal matters, so I will commit to you to learning about the issues. I will say that I have complete confidence in the administrator, as does the rest of the board. I imagine that some of the times when you didn't hear from her was because she asked him to contact you. Karen does a great job for us, and she enjoys our complete support. And she's an engineer, so when you start building berms, make sure you get a permit because you don't want to open up another can of worms trying to solve one issue by creating another. So that's just friendly. I've got Google Earth open on my computer, which is what I keep staring at.
Okay.
How far do you think it is from your rear window to
the kennels?
Yeah.
So from my back house on my plat of survey, it's 112 feet to their fence, and probably another 75, 50 feet to the kennels. That to be fair.
Yeah.
So not quite a football.
About 200 feet.
Yeah, not quite a football field. Yeah, when we moved out here from Washington D.C., and I grew up in this area, and then I moved back. Behind us in what's now Hunter's Ridge off of 22 in Fox River Grove, that nice neighborhood, when you turn from your house to go left on 22 to go to Jewel and the Walgreens, there was a sheep farm. Before that was a subdivision, it was a sheep farm, and it was great fun when our girls were little because we'd go to the fence and we'd baa at the sheep. But it can be frustrating at night when the sheep need to go to sleep. So your concerns are certainly valid, and I always appreciate the fact that people who want to come to a solution will try to come to a solution. And the reason the country's so mad at Washington D.C. is nobody really wants to come to a solution. So we'll take a bit of time here to learn about this.
Yeah.
And I'd like to invite the folks from Tail Chasers to come up and give us your point of view. I want to be clear, no decision is being made of any kind tonight. So this is the first impression for me. So please, you're welcome to come up.
I'm Randa, this is Matt. We own a very...
We need full name and address just for the record, I'm sorry.
Okay. Matt and Randa Clark, 10 Hillside Drive, Lake Barrington. We own Tail Chasers Barrington Pet Resort. We purchased Barrington Pet Resort, and it's been 3 years now, September 2018. We've been in business with Tail Chasers since March of 2004, so we have lots of experience with animals. We're well known for our high quality of care. We are very compassionate pet care professionals. They're in an industry that it is difficult to be so because it's not always as profitable to be one with high compassion and high quality of care. So we took over Barrington Pet Resort in September of 2018. We've been there for 3 years. And the business has been there since, I believe, 1971, that it's been in Lake Barrington. And we haven't had any issues, and we've even reduced capacity. Like they used to house 150 dogs, and we brought it down to only 90 pets. And if you talk to any of our clients, they'll tell you that we raised the prices because we're reducing capacity, and some of them aren't super happy about that. But we are very compassionate about the care that we're giving the animals, and we don't want the animals to be overstimulated and have too much noise in the kennel. And we also don't want our neighbors to be disturbed because we have Sean living behind us, and then we have Alex who lives down at the end of our play yard as well. So we're doing, and when we first had the complaint soon after he moved in, I believe I talked to Karen. I talked to somebody.
You live there too, right?
Right, we do live on premises. So we live, our bedroom faces the kennels.
With our 2 children.
Yeah, with our 2 children. So we are there sleeping at night. I run a fan at nights because I have asthma and I have to have the air circulating anyway. But we are there in the middle of the night. It's not like the dogs are left alone just to bark their heads off. Now they do have, like he's talking about, we do have guillotine dog doors, which are pretty standard in the boarding industry. Ours are clear so that the dogs have light coming in. So sometimes we currently have a male thief right now, and the male thief is waking up the dogs in the middle of the night. So the headlights come in on that side, and there is sometimes some barking during the night if some of the dogs are woken up. We have been really careful about who we place on the side that faces Sean's house because we do have some that are notoriously vocal about their stay. The Huskies in general, they sound like they're screaming even though they're just announcing to the world that they're present. So, but I mean, it's scary for us because this is our business. I mean, we've sunk everything into it. This is our family. Our children work with us. I mean, when COVID hit, we're completely based on travel, and we completely tanked. We went from, 90 dogs to 2. So me and Matt and our children ran it by ourselves for 2 solid months, and then we slowly were able to bring people back. During those 2 months, we completely revamped all of our policies and procedures because we had bought an existing business that wasn't run the same way that we would run our business, and so we were making slow improvements, but it was almost a blessing during COVID to be able to revamp everything and put all of our policies and procedures in place. So I can tell you exactly how long the dogs are let out, right at 7. We do have some really awesome employees who show up early to work, and when you walk in our front door, when that door slams, the dogs hear it, and they start barking, and then they all need to go potty. If any of you have a dog, when they wake up, it's time to go outside. So the employees, when they come in to save the dogs making a bunch of messes and walking through it and having to have everybody have an extra bath, they open all the doors to let the dogs out into their runs. And then Sean's right, as they're out in their runs, the staff are hurrying to clean their runs.
And then they open the doors, put the food down, and most of the dogs will come in and eat their food, but there are some stubborn dogs who like to hang outside because they like the fresh air, or they're just being slightly obstinate and don't want to come in when they're supposed to, or they're not hungry. Some of them are free-fed at home and don't really care about their meal. My dog is the opposite. So we know when Sean moved in, soon after he moved in, he had given us a call and said that the noise was upsetting him. He wasn't able to sleep. It was like putting him in a bad mental state. The phone call went a little bit south and we felt a little bit threatened, and then I had talked to Karen about it, like, what do we do? I mean, we have a license to be a kennel, but I don't know, what all our responsibilities are with noise. And she had said, like, we should continue doing what we're doing with the dogs going out. It's fine if the employees arrive 15 minutes before we open, and, they open the doors and let the dogs out. We work 7 days a week. The dogs still have to go outside on the weekends, even though I would love to sleep in, everybody would love to sleep in. Honestly, I do sleep in on Sundays because it's my day off. And I'm there, and I'm still able to sleep in with a fan on. And my children aren't woken up either, and I have a 7-year-old that would wake up with the sun if he didn't have the blackout curtains and all the things, so. We are very compassionate. The dogs, I know that Sean has mentioned to us that he feels like the dogs aren't being taken care of, and that's absolutely not true. If you talk to any of our customers, their dogs drag them into our facility because they are loved. Our employees are very well paid, very well trained. We're proud to have 40 people employed now after COVID that come from great diversity of race, sexual identity, and we even have some with disabilities working for us. Our employees are fantastic. That's why on Saturday mornings you may get woken up at 6:45 because they show up on time and they care about the dogs. They want the dogs to go outside. When they walk in the door, they run in, they clock in, and they run and open all the dog ears so that everybody can go outside. So we want to know from you what any suggestions that you have to make it more peaceful for Sean. We did have about 3 foot of brush in between our property that he's cut down, I think, to build his berm, but I almost feel like it's making the noise worse. And then he had built a stack of firewood to try to block some of the noise, which I have a rescued German Shorthair Pointer who's super extra, and he thought that he should just jump over the fence onto the wood and then take off. So now I put up a privacy screen so that he can't see that there's a wood pile there, because I'm sure that Sean doesn't want to wake up with my dog on his front step. So we're doing what we can. We're trying to cooperate. We did have an incident where we had to call the police because he was outside yelling because it was before 7 o'clock, and most of our employees are young girls and they were scared, and so the police were called. So that's kind of the background, but I'm welcome to any questions that you have about how we run things, how it's set up.
Yeah, I'd also like to add, we're a positive reinforcement facility, training facility, so we care about building a strong bond with owner and pet in a positive way. We want them to have the best relationship with their owner, and we want the owners to understand that they can have a great relationship with their pet as well. One of the things that we also try to do is be good neighbors. So we have taken into account to any of Sean's his requests, and we've actually put the signs out saying no dogs out until 7 p.m. because we didn't know it was an issue, or 7 a.m. We didn't know it was an issue before because for 3 years we've been operating this business, and when Sean said it was quiet during COVID, it was because we were running it ourselves, and there was a lot of dogs there, but these dogs are inside for 12 hours, and as soon as that sunlight hits, they want to go outside. So these doors that we have, they're guillotine doors, but they're plexiglass. So there is going to be some sound escaping for dogs that are excited to go outside as soon as the sun hits, or if they hear workers come to work early. So our workers meticulously clean the inside of the runs once they let the dogs, or the rooms, once they let them outside in the runs. We use a very sanitary product that's calcium-based and is safe for plants, animals, and humans. The dogs can be out on it within 20 seconds of it being sprayed. It's very safe, it's clean, it's effective, and it takes out any nitrogen and ammonia out of the urine so it doesn't smell. So
But we
it's
do,
just this
and then we squeegee it, but we do have to wait a little bit for it to dry, otherwise the dog's feet will get wet.
Right, so the dogs are outside during that time. Once the rooms are clean, they're getting breakfast in the morning, so we let them back in, and then the staff has to go outside and clean the outside runs, because Brandon and I are very meticulous with the way that we run our place, and we want our protocols followed. So these dogs are always in a safe environment. It's a very clean environment as well. So sometimes that takes a little bit longer, but also, as you were mentioning, we are trying to build back ourselves. COVID took the wind out of our sails. So we are trying to build back with a staff that's never done this before. And so they're having to be hired on, they're having to learn at a pace that's not, too exhausting so that they can do their job efficiently. But not everybody's as fast as Randa and myself, so we've got to understand that. As we're building back, we're gaining more staff. We're trying to increase the times that we can get these rooms cleaned. It is a facility that has 68 runs. It's a 6,800 square foot facility, as you know, and the runs are on both sides of the building. So we're trying to let out one section at a time, to which Sean did address that. But the reason we're doing that is because we don't want the dogs out very long. So we're trying to get them out, let them potty. The only thing is with dogs being outside and some dogs being inside that want to be outside, you can kind of see the equation we're kind of working with. There's going to be messes inside that they have to clean more meticulously and spend more time doing it. So we're really trying to adhere to any requests that are made and be good neighbors, but we also can't flip our business upside down. We've been running for 3 years now and trying to do it as efficiently as possible.
And I've even been, we have a play set that's right between the kennels and Sean's house, and I even have been making the kids not go out on the play set after 6 because the dogs see them and then they bark.
Right.
So, and it's a cinder block building, so it does hold in some of the noise, but especially when we're full, if one dog barks, then that wakes everybody up, and then they're all yelling at the other dog to be quiet, so they go back to sleep, so it's kind of a chain of events.
The travel is also being very good to us right now. Word of mouth is being really good to us right now, so we are full. And there's also issues of dogs that haven't been through a training program that are coming, that haven't had any training at all. And they come once a year and they break our guillotine doors, or they don't know how to act in the facility, so they're gonna bark the entire time. So we deal with that as well. And I think, in the middle of the night, sometimes we live there, but we can't be out there in early morning hours to know some of these dogs are barking. So we're doing what we can to try to make sure that, we keep the noise level, to a minimum during those
And I
times.
know there's been some accusations that the dogs are left outside at night. That's absolutely not true. Our managers walk through at the end of their shift and check every run against the reservations to make sure all the dogs are inside. Nobody's left outside at night. As soon as the techs leave, the doors are all shut.
I'm also doing 3 tours a night with new customers every night. So we're just kind of working all the time, 365 days a year. So there's going to be times that, we may, wrong wording is drop the ball, but we're trying our best to adhere to any ordinances. But I guess there's been some times that have bothered our neighbors, and so we're trying to be good neighbors and trying to resolve those as best as possible. But we have to do it within our hours that are allowed to us.
Well, as I said to Sean, I'll say to you, I appreciate the tone. You can get a lot more done in building consensus when people are screaming at each other. And I don't know about anybody else, but I am exhausted of screaming. So I appreciate
Customer
both.
service during COVID is
I appreciate both parties coming with a polite approach, because politeness is welcome in this community, and impoliteness is not welcome in this community. I don't know. I need to get familiar with this. The board needs to get familiar with this. As I said, there's no judgment of any kind tonight. You've brought this to our attention, Sean. Thank you, and you've given us some additional perspective. We're governed by the law, and I don't think any of us, except Mr. Bateman, is off the top of mind familiar with what the particulars of the law are. So, first thing is, and the village hall is always available to parties to meet and work out their differences. Always happy to have the community room be available for that purpose, or the conference room. Always. I want to set expectations real clearly. If any business is operating legally in our community, our ability to influence is simply one of persuasion. If they're operating illegally, that's a different story. And typically the process is the business that might be coloring outside the lines gets a letter from Mr. Bateman and it says, you better start coloring inside the lines or here are the consequences. It doesn't happen very often, but it happens. And 90% of the time people comply. So let the board get familiar with the details. And since since the administrator has your contact information on both sides, I will hold you to the letter of the law, and I will enforce the letter of the law, Sean.
I don't really want to drive it down. Like I said, I don't know what the law is. Nobody ever told me what the law was. I just don't want to hear about the law now.
Yeah, well, and I think it's interesting, and I commend you for looking at other remedies like the berm.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've done putting the fence up. I hope to have it, big barrier.
Well, my neighborhood is at 22 in Kelsey, and when you drive by, the part of Kelsey has that row of trees on a berm, and it was created for that purpose.
Do you remember when you came by my street, when you came by to see that shit?
Oh, it was in the summer sometime because it was hot out.
Do you remember hearing the dogs barking?
I don't recall what.
Do you remember me telling you I was going to build a wall?
Yeah, I do remember that you mentioned something like that. I didn't have the context that
Remember
you.
what you told me? I know me to tell you.
Sure.
Good idea.
Well, self-help is often a great remedy on a lot of things in life, so I'm not surprised I said something like that. I give that advice to myself as often as I give it to others, I think.
I implore you guys to go over there between the hours of 7 and 8 and experience it for yourself.
Sure, but
I implore you, and I implore you not to tell them because they seem to act better when they know they're being watched.
Well, I'm not going to call into question their behavior or their motives any more than I would yours. I think we all have a good amount of information now, and we appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and we'll take it under advisement, and we'll advise as to next steps as they are best known to us from our review.
We also appreciate the opportunity to meet all you and be in front of you. It's been 3 years since we've been here, so we're sorry it hasn't been sooner, but it's been pretty busy as well. We did come into a kennel that was operating, for 20 years, and we retained the staff that was there because we wanted to make it a very smooth transition. When COVID hit, it kind of, like I said, took the wind out of ourselves. We had lots and lots of plans of building a higher fence around our property because we have some big dogs that like to run, they like to jump, and it's one of those things that as a business owner, we don't want any that can scale a 6-foot fence very easily. So we were planning on putting walls around the facility or with coyote rollers so that nothing could get in, nothing could get out. But like I said, when COVID hit, our finances and the budget kind of went downhill. We're trying to rebuild. We're trying to get to that point. Sean moved in April of 2021, so we didn't really expect that what we were doing was going to cause any issues with the neighborhood. We've had Barrington Motorsports right next to us for the last 3 years, wonderful neighbors. We've had NL Group with Alex Rodriguez and gang, really wonderful neighbors as well. So we've just basically been part of that neighborhood, and we didn't have to.
Well, we typically have a 5-minute rule for these things, and we've gone about 40 minutes here, so I'm going to claim the time back from you. Appreciate you coming in. We will review this and take it under advisement, and Mr. Bateman will be back in touch with appropriate next steps.
So thank you for the 5+ minute rule.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public wishing recognition at this time?
President Richardson, could we ask that Lieutenant Kirk come up so that he doesn't have to stay with us through the rest?
Sure, absolutely.
Please give us a report.
Lieutenant is always welcome here.
We'll address other Lake County Sheriff's Department issues later, but I just thought thank you very much for coming, Lieutenant Kirk, and bring us up to date on anything that's going on and things that we ought to be keeping our eyes and ears open for.
Thank you, Trustee Sheldon. I don't have all that much tonight. As everybody knows, we do have Halloween coming up. And we do have White Cemetery in the area. As always, we will be having patrols out there. It doesn't affect the village directly, but sometimes it does tend to bring a different group into the neighborhood. So we will be aware of that and have our patrols ongoing during the season. Other than that, if you're aware of any other areas that need special attention during the Halloween season, please let us know and we will patrol that area as needed.
Are you aware, I know, last year or the year before, we had a lot of driveway incidents where people left their keys in their car in the driveway and people were gaining entry to cars and things like that, or even carjacking. Have we had any of those instances in the area?
Not at carjacking. I know sometime, I think during the summer, there was a vehicle stolen from the area right across from the hospital. But that kind of activity is going on everywhere in the area, in the suburbs, and a lot of times vehicles are being taken from the suburbs and they end up in the city. They'll find them a few days later. It's often used in a crime somewhere along the way. So the problem, a lot of people were having this problem is they were leaving their key fobs in the center console. So, these people that were doing this crime would just walk up to the car, and then hit the start button, and because it's how we start a car these days, and they drive away. So I would just probably keep your car locked and do not keep your key fobs in the car. It's one of the easier ways to protect yourself from that sort of crime.
Totally understood.
Thank you. Do you have eyes and ears? If you see something unusual in your neighborhood, report it to the department.
What's the non-emergency number? Because there's not everything that rises to the level of 911, but may look a little fishy.
Correct. It is 847-549-5200. Okay. 5200. And I know some people are hesitant to call 911, and they'll take the time to look up the non-emergency number, but honestly, if it really begs our attention, just call 911. Sure. If we get there and we decide it wasn't an emergency, we're not gonna scold you for it, I promise.
Lieutenant Sheriff, when I get calls from residents, I've told them the same thing, like, you don't even have to decide if it's non-emergency, just call 911 and they will decide.
Correct.
They will dispatch accordingly.
Correct. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, not everything is sinister. This was at least 15 years ago. I was driving, I turned left onto 14 off of Kelsey, going south on Kelsey. And there was a man walking on the side, and it just looked like he was deeply troubled. And he wasn't doing anything that I thought was, outside the bounds of the law. He just looked deeply troubled walking down the side of a very busy US highway. And so I called the non-emergency number just to have somebody see if the guy was okay. So for residents, it's more than just concern over personal safety and property safety, which are very, very important. It can be something just like that just looks a little askance and you want someone to check it out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and we handle calls like that every day. And part of one of the big parts of law enforcement is, as everybody here knows, is dealing with mental illness. So, absolutely, if you think somebody's in trouble, call us and we'll come check it out.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Always a pleasure.
Have a great
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you. Agenda item 7 is the Treasurer's Report. Mrs. Hirsch.
Good evening again, back here at the podium. So before us tonight, you have the financial statements that have been prepared and reviewed for the 4 months ended August 31st, 2021. So we're about 1/3 through our fiscal year. Looking at the flash report on page 2, which is usually where we start for the evening. You'll see we have
My favorite report.
compliments of Debbie. We should have her name down here, created by Debbie Vernon.
Debbie invented the little gray line too for me.
Yes, I actually had to have her bold that a little bit more recently. I said, Deb, our line's not as bold as it used to be. So I had to bold it up a little bit.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and she was able to do that for me. So anyway, back to our balance sheet. We have total assets of $3,561,000. We have liabilities at $785,000, and that makes our equity at $2,776,000. Total revenue for the 4 months ended August 31st is $1,407,000. Our expenses are at $996,000, giving us net income of $411,000. That compared to this point last year, we had total revenue of $297,000. So as we've done in the past, below our bolded line. We've broken out our extraordinary items to kind of come up with a net income, ordinary net income and loss to compare that year to year. To date, we have 2 items to pull out, major sort of extraordinary items. Road work at $33,248. And then featherling work, we're going to pull that out for the rest of the year, and that's $120,723. We pull those numbers out. Our sort of regular operation net income and loss is $565,000, and compare that to last year at this point is $306,000. So as you can see, we're having a good year. I've talked about this, each month coming forward. Income tax, real estate tax, sales tax, building permits, those continue to pretty much account for a large part of this revenue difference from last year. Plan reviews and exterior property maintenance, those are up from last year, but as expected, in line with the revenues that we've experienced related to those items as well. Sales tax came in strong again this month. I only foresee, good things in sales tax. To date, our municipal share of sales tax is up almost $88,000 from last year. So it's quite a difference. We're really rebounding from COVID. Combining that with our home rule sales tax, we have our total sales tax is up $163,000. And some of that we know is due to the change in the laws. We're getting a lot of money from Amazon and some of the other, shopping networks. We're getting sales tax directly from them, which has been a big benefit to our community this year. So I'll just say that on the expense side, some of the things that are up is our building exterior maintenance is up, but we knew that. We have a lot of work done in Village Hall. We had brick repair, we've had some window replacement. So all within budget and all as expected, just to compare that to last year. So I'll flip forward to pages 10 and 11. Just a quick look at the budget to actual report. And you can see on those pages, total revenues are at 40% actual to budget, so it's trending slightly ahead of a budget. We're a third through the year, so you'd expect to see at least 33%. So we're slightly ahead. And some of those is timing differences. Real estate taxes, we've collected half of those. Taxes are collected twice a year, so we've got half of those in, so that's pulling the number up a little bit. Sales tax is coming in at 49% actual to budget, so once again pulling up our total revenues nicely. And building permits, the 3 things I keep talking about all year, I get tired of hearing about it, but building permit revenue, that's at 77% actual to budget, so that's really helping our bottom line. So we'll see how that works out over the winter. We've obviously experienced a lot of growth in the summer and hope that comes back a little bit next spring before our year end is over. So that's pretty much all I have to talk about on the general fund. Happy to answer questions before moving on, if there's any.
Questions for the treasurer?
Yeah, Peggy, the ARPA funds, where are those being reconciled or accounted for?
Those came in September, so this is just through August.
Gotcha, okay.
So you'll see that next month. So we are going to create a separate fund.
Okay.
Actually for those funds. It was $329,339, something like that, just a little bit under $350,000. Yeah. Okay, and then, so flip to page 12, that's the motor fuel tax fund. No activity as planned in there this year, but we do have, that's growing nicely, $510,000 of net current assets. About $219,000 of that is for the rebuild Illinois project. So that's another specifically specified use, which we'll have to track once we start using those funds. Page 16, the water sewer fund. That fund is at net current assets of $1,778,000. No major improvements planned for this year, only normal maintenance. So those 2 funds are kind of sitting quietly for the year, and we'll see a lot of activity next year, I project. So before I move to the warrants, any questions on the financial statements? Okay, so I reviewed the warrants. They're here for your approval. There's about 4 invoices on warrant A that I think needs some mention. We've actually spent a fair amount of money this month. Era Road Construction, that's for $446,250.19. That is the first pay request for the road work done in the village this spring. There's a request for Baycott for $5,056.75. That's the second quarter dues. Nothing unusual, just we only see those once a quarter. Clark Construction, Clark Mosquito, and that's for $3,290. That's a one-time spray only. That was suggested by Clark. And then Salem Masonry for $42,350, and that is the full payment for the stucco work that was done in the front sign restoration here at Village Hall. There's actually one more on warranty. Dixon Engineering, $3,200, and that's inspection on the interior painting of the water tower. So moving to warrant B, there are 3 invoices to note. Greco Electric for $10,082. That's electrical work at Heatherling to get electricity to the aerator in the pond. HR Green for $16,875, and that's construction engineering related work related to the road work that was recently completed. And then finally KC Printing, and that's $3,169.46. That's for 2 different newsletters that were sent out this summer. And so with the exception of Clark Mosquito, all these items were budgeted and budgeted, beginning of the year. The Clark one was a little bit of an anomaly for this year, it was not in the budget.
No, Clark was in the budget for a certain amount, and we just weren't using it until we needed it. So it was in the budget.
Oh, excuse me, okay.
Yeah, it was in the budget.
Okay, I thought we weren't budgeting for...
We weren't really had a contingency in the budget for it.
So okay,
we
I stand corrected. Okay, thank you. And that is all I have to mention. Everything's been reviewed. That is here for your approval. But any questions?
Questions for the treasurer?
I also wanted to just point out, if everybody could look at the front Village Hall sign now, with the work that they did on it. They power washed it and then black painted the lettering, so it's much more visible now. And I'd like to
That's great.
Village Clerk Lisa Pinus-Wappa made that suggestion, and so when we went out for bid for the work, they said they could do that.
And I will change this for the minutes before giving you some.
Yeah, and just
So it's
double
correct.
check. I saw it in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
I was looking at the right spot.
Okay, I've been looking at myself, but yeah, okay. Any other questions?
No? No questions for the treasurer? Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. To the comments earlier honoring Debbie, I read that Journal of Accountancy thing, and my voice cracks aside about cases of incredible municipal fraud. And it's actually kind of chilling when you sit up here as the elected official. And what this relies upon is trust and integrity. You've got it. You've got it. And I'm counting on you to have it. Because it is a privilege for us to serve the people, and the reality is it's a privilege for us to trust the people we work with. I got a lot of faults, but acknowledging great performance isn't one of them. Failing to acknowledge it isn't one of them. You guys have done a great job on this stuff. I never worry about these warrants. They've been under a microscope in the other room here. So, like I joked, you don't let me take a paper clip out of the building, for heaven's sake. So, I'm very grateful. This is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And it's work you don't see until something goes wrong, and then everybody sees it. So it's often a thankless job, Debbie. I didn't say that earlier, but I can sure say it now. And I probably don't appreciate it near enough because I don't understand it. So,
I don't think Debbie was here last month too when the audit was here. Were you, Deb? I don't believe so. And I made the comment how we fight tooth and nail. We make sure we have no audit adjustments. And that's a big part on Debbie. And we will, we go through those financial statements before they get here. We don't want audit adjustments. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's really a badge of honor to have an audit walk away with no adjustments. And that's really on Debbie. Yeah.
I don't like to amend my lobby workforce. Same kind of thing.
There was an article recently too, Karen pointed out to me in IML 2017. It's kind of an old case of some fraud. And the only reason I had to chuckle was because the treasurer was also the city dog catcher. Well, that was interesting. I don't intend on doing that as well. I found that an interesting.
Telling Peggy she's going to get a new title.
And that's what they're making the conversation tonight. I didn't do that.
Yeah, my wife tried positive reinforcement training with me. It didn't work. Okay, Chair would like a motion to approve in block agenda items 8A through C. A, approve the financial statements as of August 31, 2021. B, pay bills in the amount of $738,929.80 as listed on the accounts payable warrant A dated October 12, 2021. And C, pay bills in the amount of $38,826.21 as listed on the accounts payable warrant B dated October 12, 2021. May I have a motion?
So moved.
By Trustee Hayes. Thank you. May I please have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Perkins. Thank you both. Administrator, please call the roll.
Sure. Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Fowler?
I've been advised to abstain, and abstain.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
President Richardson?
Yes. Terrific. Great. Agenda item 8 is the administrator's report. You can roll into number 9 as well, since Lisa's not here.
Sure. Just an update on the T-Mobile lease that we've been talking about the last few months. We've retained Dixon Engineering to do a pre-removal and a post-removal inspection of the water tower. Representatives from T-Mobile have been told they need to submit for a permit before they remove the equipment, which they have not yet. And we've also asked for plans to show what they will be removing. So we're still waiting for that before anything takes place. So I don't think they're going to meet their self-imposed October 31st deadline on that. Under other news, I attended the ILCMA conference last week in Portland, and that was their first conference in 2 years with people coming together. I must say it was different, seeing a lot of people in one spot. Portland they had a great protocol at their convention center. We all had to upload our vaccination cards prior to the event, and every day answer health questions and then come up on our text and show a check mark before we got into the convention center. And of course, everybody was wearing masks, not only at the convention center, but the hotels and on public transit. So it was nice to see everybody obeying the rules on a rule follow. The sessions I attended were on a lot of different subjects, including ethics, workplace culture, and attracting retail to small communities. And Trustee Burke might be speaking on that related topic tonight a little bit, and other topics. And it was just a really good networking opportunity. I got a chance to talk to my contemporaries at both big and small towns to see how they are addressing a lot of the same issues that we address, and how different people approach those that problem solving. Portland, they've got some big issues that I'm glad that we don't have here. The most obvious being the homeless population. It's really taken a toll between the homeless population, and it's gotten worse since COVID has come, and the civil unrest last year. So their downtown is really struggling now. It used to be a lot more vibrant, and there's still a lot of stores boarded up. So until some COVID issues and mental illness issues that we heard about tonight and things that, the town's, it's going to have a lot of issues. So, but it was a very good conference, and I thank you for allowing me to attend. And that was it for administrators.
All right.
I'll put on my clerk's hat. Lisa is at her training event, so she's not able to be here tonight. But she wanted me to tell you all that Saturday, October 23rd, the Cuba Township Road District is having a free paper shredding event at their Blue Farmhouse. So use paper grocery bags. There's a limit of 4 bags per household. And so they've been doing this the last few years, so I save up all my stuff to just take it over, because otherwise it takes forever. Also, starting Monday, October 25th, that week, Cuba Township will be doing their fall brush pickup. So it's a very nice bonus. You can put out brush piles no larger than 10 foot by 4 feet, and limbs no larger than 8 inches in diameter. So, but the brush has to be at the end of your driveway by 7 a.m. on that Monday, because they're just going to take one pass through town, and if it's not out then, too bad, you've missed the truck. So,
Karen, what's the date again, please?
Monday, October 25th, 7 a.m.
Monday,
Yeah.
October 25th.
Yeah.
And does this brush have to be bundled or doesn't it?
it doesn't have to be bundled, but no more than 10 foot by 4 foot piles. No pile larger than that. So you can't have a whole ton of stuff. It's mainly for just like recent storms and things like that. Because we still have, brush pickup with waste management. So they just come, a lot of times people have cut down perhaps a tree on their own or had some limbs come down, and it makes it easier for them to get rid of those limbs. So information's on their website, and we've also posted it on our website. We've cross-posted it. The other thing is Halloween, trick-or-treat hours. Halloween Sunday, October 31st. And trick-or-treat is from 3 to 7 p.m. So get those candy bars ready for the kids. That's it for the clerk's report.
All right, questions for the administrator on either her report or the clerk's report? All right, there being none, we can move to agenda item 10, reports of the standing committees. A, COVID-19 response task force. Trustee Berger.
Thank you, President. Tonight I'm going to be uncharacteristically brief with these comments. COVID-19, I would say good news all around the state. We remain in phase 5. Since the last report, Illinois test positivity has gone from 5.4% down to 2.6%, and in Lake County, or Region 9, I should say, from 5% to 2.3%. All that going in the right direction. On the vaccination front, we, in the state of Illinois, it's now, they're marking it as 12 and older, 63% fully vaccinated, which is up 10 basis points from 53% a month ago. So there's progress being made, but that's also getting at younger people as well. 65 and older still remains high 80s, almost 90%. And in our zip code 60010, fully vaccinated 12 and over is 66%, which was up from 56% just 1 month ago. So the right numbers moving in the right direction on both of those fronts. And I think, we have a statewide mask mandate and some of the other things still in effect that are being looked at very, very closely as Illinois continues to move their numbers in the right direction. I think I just read in the paper this morning that Illinois, I don't know if they're talking about I don't know if they're talking about case rate, but something like we had maintained like the 11th lowest case rate or something. Did anybody see that? Yeah. Was that about case rate or was that about vaccination rates?
I think it was case rate.
Yeah.
That we were somewhere in the 10 or 11 low, out of 50.
Yeah, out of 50.
So, meaning regardless of political affiliations or whatnot, as we know, we're certainly the lowest state in cases and positivity rate in every state that surrounds us. So Illinois has pretty successfully cocooned itself and through its tactics of vaccination rates and social distancing and mask mandates you have to say that as a state, overall, we're doing a pretty good job. So hopefully what that leads to is, and I think the state is also being extremely conservative, even though in most cases we hit the criteria that suggest we could lift almost all these mandates. I think with the Delta variant still playing itself out, that the conservatism is still reigning.
Andy, do you have a swag on whether we'll be able to have indoor dining? I don't want the restaurants to go through this again.
Well, we do have indoor dining.
No, I mean, do you think it'll?
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, I can't imagine it's going to bounce back unless there's another crazy spike. But I think we're learning. The data is beginning to show up, and that we're doing indoor dining, and these are not places that are showing up, and these hot spots are being tracked, right? So. If you're tracking the hot spots and somehow indoor dining, I think there's a big difference between indoor dining and indoor drinking. I was kind of shocked at personal observation. I was in the city a couple of weekends ago, went to a football game there at Soldier Field, and the night before went out to dinner. And I went out to dinner in a place that had indoor and outdoor dining, but lots of room between tables, lots of outdoors. We actually ate indoors. And extremely comfortable, you know, the area was hopping, but it just seemed like it was good spacing and nobody felt crowded. Afterwards, our friends said, "We've got to take you to this spot that our kids go to. It's the hottest spot in town. Let's go, you know, to have a drink." So we go in, we get on this elevator, we pass a few bouncers, and we get up and the elevator doors open. And it's a whole upper level indoors of just a bar. And it is just shoulder to shoulder people without masks.
Oh my.
And we abruptly turned around and walked out. And I was shocked because in effect, the mask mandate's still there, but if you're drinking, you don't have to wear the mask. So everybody is drinking, so nobody's wearing a mask. And it's all people between 25 and 40 in this place, and it is hot and sweaty and shoulder to shoulder. And I'm like, that is not a place that I want to be, vaccinated or not vaccinated, right? So those are the places that maybe could be causing a few problems. But I'm very optimistic that these are moving in the right direction. We will continue to move in the right direction, and we'll here be able to enjoy indoor dining throughout the winter.
Yeah, I'm looking at the New York Times. They do a 50-state tracking thing. When you started to report, I looked it up. And we're way down from the high of last winter where they closed all the restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of relative. If you go back to when that was really, really bad, and we were literally shutting out all that, the numbers are quite a bit different. You know, it's all relative. This is a recent spike, you know, when Delta came in, but with vaccinations and as highly vaccinated as we are, you know, you're almost getting close to herd immunity with people that have either had it or the people who are vaccinated. And I think that brings a lot of comfort to people in that respect.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Illinois figures right now. Been one for the old guys. 96% of people over 65 have had at least one vaccination.
One, right.
79 fully.
Right.
12 to 60, 65. 81% at least one. 63% fully. So, you know, the overall 69% at least one dose and 54%. So there must be some real drop off here, and that must account for the children that haven't been authorized for that until just recently. Yeah, with the mask mandate indoors is what prompted my question about indoor dining, because I can remember Zaza's and Pepper Park Coffee and Kelsey Roadhouse and Onion Pub, and it was even when you went for takeout to try to support the local restaurants, it was just emotionally gut-wrenching to watch those folks.
So I think to that end, Kevin, I think it's good for us to be mindful of the fact that can always change. So the numbers can change at any time, and that we need to be prepared and understand and ready, if that's the case, again, to work with our restaurant establishments and make sure we're supporting them every way we can to help them through that process. But we'll keep fingers crossed for now, but we'll be prepared to take action. And I think the key last time for us is that we didn't contemplate it too long. We took it immediately when they could use it and it worked. So we just need to be ready to do that again if it's necessary.
I remember at the end of the last meeting, I did not have time to prepare this, but Teresa's company was my big client. You know, we've been at ground zero of a lot of the technology issues related to vaccine credentials. I'm not making a policy statement on whether they're good or bad, but if you're going to do it right. And I'll come in and maybe try to present a little bit just so you have a sense of what the issues are. Because it's entirely possible that the state will begin to require, and it's become a red versus blue thing in a lot of places, I'm afraid. And I'm not predicting it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois went in the direction. The city of New York has already said, you want to get in someplace, you better show a credential, or you can't. So imagine you're walking into Kelsey Roadhouse or Zaza's, and you know, back in the old day when the seating hostess would say smoking or non-smoking, they're going to look at it, they're going to scan your, the technology should be that way, it's not quite yet because we're still using paper cards, but you know, vaccinated or not vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, you ain't getting in. And I don't welcome that because there's going to be a lot of stress on that, a lot of stress on that. But I'd at least like the board to be aware of what the technology issue is. And there are some that are less invasive than others.
It's interesting, we were over at Marriott Lincolnshire for the play, they started doing the plays again earlier this week, and you had to show your vaccination card in order to even get into the theater. But I think the only concern I have with that is how valid is a picture of a vaccination card and how easy it is to just make one up.
Paper credentials are incredibly easy to forge.
Yeah.
The counterfeiting is very, very high. Not only here, but I'm working this issue in Europe, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. Very, very easy to forge. Three big issues. Security, that means can you prevent the fraud? Privacy, because there are a lot of folks who don't want a phone-based app with that because they don't want their health data being monetized or going someplace they don't control. And then third is equity. You know, not everybody has $1,000 for one of these things. And so secure card technology is a way that addresses any combination. And frankly, most big municipal transit systems have done this for years. You can have a phone app or you can have a secure card to get into the turnstiles, and it happens. I'm more interested is if the governor advances a statewide mandate for vaccine credentials. I want to make sure we do everything we can to make it as palatable to the community as possible. I think some people are going to push back there.
Yeah, that goes to the whole electronic health records. I mean, it's important. We've been vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. I got all more vaccines than I can think of. It's on paper, even to this day. Really, it's a broader topic in my eyes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm happy to. Here's a big shot. I got a PowerPoint on this. I just didn't have time to adjust it for folks. And the issues of identity security have been around for a long time. And Rich, you had very high level security clearances in your active duty. You may still have them. Making sure that you're really Rich Hayes is really, really important if you're getting classified information. And so identity is no less important in this context, right? Because we have to have confidence that the credential is meaningful. There's a slide that I put up of a bunch of screenshots of different periodicals from around the world in the countries where I've been working. Plus I pulled some from India. Basically I pulled from the Quad and the Five Eyes from this. You can buy them online, perfect replica copies for about $5. 5 pounds, I'm sorry, in England. There was an article in the Tribune about a woman from Oak Lawn, because when you go to Hawaii, they have special protocols. And she got busted because she did it herself, and she wrote Moderna with an A. And so your point about the fraud is a very legitimate one. We want people to comply with it. I'm sorry.
No, that's right. I got it. That's my report. Any other questions on that? If not, I'll just flow into econ development if I may.
Please.
A couple other points to add to our friends from the Monaco's. There's been a lot of communication, three-way communication between them, the village, and the landlord, Alex Ulanoff, who owns that. And I just want to assure everybody that, the way things are supposed to work, I think this is a very good example of that, and Karen and the staff are doing a great job of staying on top of permit issuance, inspections required, and in fact, the folks at the Manicos are very appreciative that we've been so on top of that it's kind of ensuring that we're looking at the property and making points now so they have time to address the issues that either themselves or with their landlord, and they've been very appreciative of how proactive the village has been in making sure that we're giving them feedback on what's going on and not waiting to opening day to tell them the 10 things they've got to go fix before they can open their restaurant. So I appreciate Karen and Julia and staff staying on top of that. One of the current ones is they've issued their plans for their new, you heard them talk about the new awnings that they want to put up, and Karen sent me a note on that today saying, hey, this is finished, this is happening. We want to make sure we're not the reason they're not getting their awnings up and having them available for opening. So, it's been a very good collaborative effort. And I would also just say, that there's a pretty big investment going into this thing that is not only the tenant, the restaurant owners, but also the landlords making a pretty significant investment, updating HVAC. He's painted the buildings, so he understands, that this is he can invest behind this, and that's what you want. And he and his tenant talk a lot back and forth about the things they want to do and try to get done, and some the tenant pays for and some the landlord pays for, but the Manicos have been saying they have a very good working relationship with their landlord, and they work through the issues and things are getting done. And they also appreciate that we're willing to kind of stick our noses in the middle of that just to make sure everything is moving forward. So that's what we talk about when we want to be easy to do business with, and we want to be good to do business with, and we want both landlord and tenant to come back and say they feel supported. That's the goal. If you can say that both parties feel supported through the process, then you're doing your job. Related to that, I spoke to Alex Uhlanoff today about, we revisited, Karen, the sign issue, and I just said, have you given any more thought to the sign? And he said, yeah, I'm still shopping it, is the board still interested in helping me? And I said, well, what we really need you to do, Alex, is adopt a sign, adopt a plan, bring it in, tell us you want to do it, tell us what it's going to cost, and put the ball firmly in our court to see if we're willing to partner with you in some way, shape, or form. That's what I'm looking for you to do. And so he said, oh, I didn't realize you were waiting for me to do anything. So I said, no, we're waiting for you to come and propose something. I said, and now's a good time to do it because there's a lot of positive things happening there. So I kind of lit a fire under him. No different than the marketplace. And I told them the marketplace is interested in getting support too. They'd like to do some landscaping and some signage, and we've invited them to submit proposals. I'm telling you this because there's going to come a time, more likely next spring, when these proposals may be in front of us. So we're going to have to sort our way through that, figure out if the money's there, any of the money that's being, any of the monies that are coming in through grants and other programs. We'll have to figure out whether any of that can be applied. So, we have a lot of work to do potentially to sort our way through how we want to support a couple of key retail centers, in that. So that's just a heads up, but it's coming. Related to that, Karen and I met today with a company called Nextsite. They have a partnership with Nicor Gas. Interesting that what they do is serve the Nicor Gas service area, and they are helping communities build their business footprint effectively. And why? Because Nicor wants to install more meters and sell more gas, so they want to have more businesses. So it's that simple. They do two very simple things. One is they do a lot of data analysis about shopping patterns and habits and rooftops and car trips and who shops where. It's very sophisticated stuff, tracking cell phones and all that cool stuff or not so cool stuff. But they do two things. So they collect all this data and they analyze it and they decide what, and then they connect you with developers, retailers, etc. And they help you do that. If you recall last time after we finished talking about how we would put the TIF district in our hip pocket and start looking for developers, these are people that can actually help you market yourself to the developers. Because again, each step of the way, Karen and I come to realize we're in over our heads. We don't really know developers. We don't know how to get to developers. We don't speak developers' language. We don't make nice, shiny presentations that have the information in it that we know that they want. And we already had one developer say to us, put us a nice presentation together about Route 14. And, well, okay. And then we all look at each other and say, who has time to do that? And it's going to look Bush League if we do it anyway. And we don't even know what information they want. So other companies do this, but we had a meeting with them today. It's a relatively cost-effective way. They charge you a fee to do this, and then they charge you a success fee for any retailer. It's just based upon the square footage of the business that they move in. An example of a success fee, and just to keep it in perspective, is if they landed you at Starbucks or a Chipotle, they would charge you $4,000 for that. So it's not like a big number. It's like, no, and that's just based upon square footage. So we're kind of assessing that. They're going to give us a formal proposal of which we will bring back and try to figure out how to fit. If we want to do this, we'll be asking the board if they think that's the right idea and you know, how to budget or where the funds are going to come from to do it. So it's the next logical step in us saying we're going to go away and figure out how to find developers. And these guys basically go to all the shows, know all the developers, all the things that we were trying to do early on and realize it's impossible for us to do this on our own. They make the connections, and then you can just sit a seat at the table anytime there's a discussion that takes place. So more to come on that. Karen, did I leave anything out from your perspective on that?
It's just that it would be a 3-year partnership with them.
Yes. It's a 3-year term to do this work, and that's how they'll write their proposals. So they're going to be pretty flexible with us, and we've done, look, we don't have the budget for it now. So they may even find ways for us to pay some up front and the rest later once we can establish a budget for it. So we'll work through that. But not a done deal. It's just an interesting approach and a very data-based approach that can kind of take the mystery out of this process, much like we did with the hotel and quickly learned a lot about how we would have a tough time with the hotel. They can quickly kind of tell us what kind of businesses.
Who belongs here?
Who belongs and who doesn't, based upon both your demographics, the housing, and all the other things that take place. So more to come on that, and that's my report.
Questions for Trustee Burke on either COVID-19 response or economic?
Have you had any contact with the new owners of the marketplace, and if so, who are they? They did repave the entire parking lot, so that's a major.
We talked quite a bit last month about that, John, yes. I have not had direct contact, but through Tony Lombardo, who represents them, and I actually found out, you know, Tony's been representing them in lots of areas. He said they are very, you know, they love being here, they love owning the marketplace, and they are actually interested in meeting with us and actually interested in, they're one of the developers that said, do you have anything else, any other areas that you want, you know, that might be developable that you'd want us to look at investing in. And that's when we got to, okay, well, how do we package that and put it in front of them? And we've had a couple of conversations with Tony. Equally, Tony's a very busy guy, and he's not really a guy who's going to put a package together for the developer either. So he came to us and said, can you help me put a package together? So we're kind of staring at each other like, can we pull this together? And Tony's at, so the positive thing is they have a lot of money. They're California, and they like this area because they ran out of things to invest in California, and they see opportunity here. And they're right in our community and the surrounding community. So they love being here. So if we can, you know, potentially show them something else in our TIF district or whatnot, you know, they may be very interested in investing, you know, as developers.
Especially if you use that TIF light where we don't.
Correct. And so I spent a lot of time talking with Tony just about the effort that we're putting into Route 14. I've encouraged him to drive around Route 14, show them the map of the TIF district, and just said, hey, if there's anything that shows up there that you're interested in, you can carry that back to your client, and we can sit down with them and talk about that. So that's kind of where we came to the point of being able to put together a meaningful sort of marketing piece, you know, that would, for a developer, again, it's a little bit over our head. So that's where we might want some help to get that done more quickly and more professionally than what we could do.
What is the closest operation in the area that they have?
I can't remember, but they're out here in the northwest suburbs.
They are?
Yeah, they got other investments in the northwest suburbs. They're growing, and they've spent already quite a bit of money just in this area.
Yeah,
What's the name of that group?
Initials.
SGT or?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
SGT group or GTS group. I have it written somewhere, but, and Tony has said, hey, my guy, regional guy who's business development and investment development would love to sit down with you guys, you know. And he says, I have a very good working relationship with him, and we can all get together and set up time. to talk. So they're very, very pleased with what's going on. They're almost fully now, leased out in there.
Yeah, except for Travel Plus, that's Zaza's warehouse.
Travel Plus,
That's where our office used to be.
Is that
right on the end?
Is that on the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
So that's the coffee guy.
I've been talking to someone who wants to go in there.
Please.
That's the coffee guy. So there's a coffee guy who's very interested in that. I think he has maybe kind of a letter of intent with that to start working in there in the spring.
Because Atletico is now in there. And
Yeah, so that's why Tony said
they did do an excellent job repaving the parking lot. And they did a 1-2 days. They ground it, repaved it, did an excellent job.
It changes the whole complexity. It's just marketing. That's just the power of that. So here's somebody who comes in with the money and sees the value of doing that. Those are our kind of people, because they're putting it in the infrastructure and also the appearance. Tony, we talked about this, but Tony said they really want to do something with that pond front area.
Yeah.
He said it's overgrown, it hides the center. They want to cut all that stuff down,
and
put a wall in there. They even said they put Lake Barrington, on the wall. So he's working on putting some plans together to show us that, which then turns that, gateway into something much more, aesthetically pleasing and the marketplace much nicer than what you see there now.
Do we know if they're getting any inquiries based on the sign they have posted there?
Inquiries based on which sign,
The
please?
restaurateur sign?
I don't know.
There are two signs. There's one at 59 in Kelsey, and then there's one at Kelsey and the other.
Oh, you mean at the marketplace? They do get a lot of interest because that whole other side by the pond is all developable. The problem is that, according to them, is nobody really wants to pay anything for it. I know they've had Duncan banging on their door. Duncan wants to put up what you would call a drive-through only. I found that. So it's not even a restaurant, it's literally
Like a kiosk.
Yeah, right, yeah.
The problem with that, it just doesn't generate much ground lease. They're not willing to pay much ground lease, and then it takes the best part of the corner. So I think, they're thinking we want something with a little grander vision that will pay the rent for that area over there. So they're willing to be patient. They don't need to build on that ground. They're holding out for the right opportunity.
They seem to have patient capital.
They have very patient capital, and they're very happy with the performance of the marketplace, so it pays for itself and then some. So they don't.
You get the impression that Al Poss left on good terms with us? I'd like to believe that.
With us?
Yeah, with us, yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I mean, I think he did.
He's a great partner.
I think it was a win-win. I think he got out at the right time. I think he found investors with deep pockets willing to spend, and already they're doing stuff, spending money. And they also are potentially a great partner, to spend money in other parts of the community for us. So I think they have, an appetite for it. And so getting to know them is going to be in our best interest, and convincing them that we're a great place to do business is our goal. So
why don't we take them to dinner at the new restaurant?
more to come on that, for sure.
Thank you. Further questions for Trustee Burke? 10B is branding and communications, and as Teresa's going to present tonight, Trustee Van Ryn's going to present tonight some work she's been doing, and really appreciate this. I remind people that in her day job, she is the head of global PR and thought leadership for one of the fastest growing companies in Illinois and in the country in the tech sector. So she brings some supercharged know-how on this, and she's done some yeoman's work already. So Trustee Van Ryn, I'm pleased to recognize you.
Thank you, President. I'd love to start, we have 3 attachments. I'd love to walk you through the plan first, followed by the editorial calendar, and finally the logos, which we would love your input on this evening. Taking a look at the plan, of course, it's based on our brand, right? The oasis of gracious countryside living, representing our approach to attracting residents and business to our community based on publicly accessible open space. Moving down to our vision, the focus on One Lake Barrington is very important to us. You'll see our objectives listed there, enhancing our brand, focusing on differentiating us as a place for open space, and growing our reputation of being a community where it's easy to do business. Our strategies promote that brand, the differentiators across the region, Metro Chicagoland, to attract new businesses and residents, build a sense of community with our current residents, and encourage our current residents and business owners to leverage our local assets, share their experiences to attract others to our area. You'll see on page 3 of the plan a number of different tactics that are a priority for us, and I'm happy to say one of them was celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Citizens for Conservation, which we've done this evening. And then moving along quickly then to the timeline. In August, we started the development of our new logo with a firm that was recommended by Ryan, who handles a lot of our communications for the village. We, in September, started building our editorial calendar to be leveraged across various channels, so I'll walk you through that in just a moment. We kicked off discussion about our website. It was Ryan and his team that came to us and said, we think you could have some more efficiencies with your website. We also looked at the boilerplate for our press release, which I think is spot on, it's concise, it's to brand. And then we talked about formalizing outreach to our village homeowner associations. And we're looking to engage the presidents of those homeowner associations and be channels for us to communicate to. Now here we are in October. We'd love to vote on a new logo this evening. We celebrated the CFC 50th anniversary, and we're kicking off a one-pager this month for village residents with key information, having that available on our website and beyond. Next month, you'll see other tactics we have planned, starting to talk about our budget for 22, build on recognizing local businesses. It was great to have the gentleman here from DeMonico tonight. We'd love to see more of that. And look at designing a local gift that we can present to new businesses, new residents that arrive in our area. And then finally wrapping out the year, continuing budget planning, editorial meeting with some local media, getting Kevin out, talking about end of the year recap, what the trends are for 22, and submitting some of that kind of commentary for the Daily Herald. So I'll pause there for any questions on the plan.
Yeah, just from a procedural standpoint, there won't be a formal call of a question and a vote, but I will go around and ask for reaction. Speed matters. Speed matters, and so Teresa's done a lot with Brian and his team in creating these logos at a very competitive cost. And this is an exercise in, let's not argue with success. We've got good options here. And I'm going to give weight to your preference because you've really devoted a lot of time, not only to this, but in your career to these concepts. So when you're ready to present those logos and what they look like, that's really important.
I'm confused about something. Are we being asked to talk about logos, or are we being asked to react to your plan?
The immediate question I would like is any input on the plan.
Okay. All right.
And then the B&C timeline that includes that, but it's not limited to that, on page 4.
Got it.
Thanks for the clarification.
Well, no, that's fine. Because I guess I wanted to comment. Is this comment time, or?
Yes.
Are you asking for comments? Okay, great. First of all, love it. Thanks for the clarity and conciseness of this. It's perfect. It's overdue. We just need a clear vision, and clearly, your day job weighs heavily into your ability to very quickly put together these key pieces. So thanks for that. And I know you worked really hard to get a lot of input from a lot of people, and that's the more important thing, incorporating all that. But you're hitting it. I couldn't sit here and criticize any one point. What it looks like to me is very comprehensive, right? Top to bottom. And you're hitting all the critical spots. And we'll soon figure out which of these are we going to leverage more fully than others, because we can't do all of these immediately, and we can't do all of them perfectly, and we'll sort that out in time. I think the timeline seems, nicely aggressive, to have all this stuff done by the end of December. So I say, however I can help in the process, happy to do so. So well done, my guys.
Thank you, Andy.
Let me just make the rounds then on this. John, reactions?
Thank you, President Richardson. Yeah, no, obviously, well done. It hits all the spots where they need to be hit. The sooner we can implement it in a practical manner, the better it is for everyone. But thank you very, very much. It's the logo, the branding, just reaching out, promoting. It fits into what we need and fits into trying to attract new residents and attract new businesses to the community. That's what it's all about, getting the word out. And we're small and we get a lot of competition, so we got to shine, and this is the way to do it. Thank you.
Trustee Perkins.
Thank you, Therese, for all of your hard work. This is obviously your point of expertise. This is laid out so nicely, and the logos are beautiful. I mean, great work. And as some of the others mentioned, long overdue. Yeah, it's great.
Trustee Hayes.
Yeah, no, thanks. Put thing on paper, it usually happens when it gets written down. So very appreciative of this, because I know how hard you work to do this, but I do have a thought, and I do this in my own business. We've got 500 some employees, and 104 times a year, an employee has to write an article in the company on safety or quality or value add, and so get a broad spectrum. I'm going to volunteer myself. You're obviously doing newsletters. I think can benefit all of us. We all come from different backgrounds, perspectives. We have different committees to write an article to participate in these outreach, and so I'll be more than happy to do that, because I think it'll extend your reach and all of our reaches. So that's just an idea. And thanks. The logos do look awesome. There'll be a knife fight to the end on which one gets picked.
Therese, do you have has everybody seen these?
No, I have I don't know where they went. I must have missed it.
I thought they were in the attachment.
They're buried in there's links,
The whole
on the
I
agenda.
thought the agenda and the links when you did it.
I missed the final option. Okay. All right. They're coming from all sorts.
Therese, do you have a favorite on this
I do, and it is number 1.
with the yellow?
That's right, and it's actually a cut leaf coneflower, which is native to Lake Barrington. So we asked Kevin Scheinweiler of the CFC to confirm, and we remodeled it just a little bit from the original so that it did reflect a native flower. And we wanted to give you 2 options of wildflowers because it's very important to Lake Barrington, but also a couple options that represent trees, which are also important to us. But I really like number 1 because I like the colors. I think they pop. We could do a reverse. If we have a dark background, we could do white lettering. I think it would look beautiful on a water tower or on LinkedIn or on our website. A lot of applications.
Here's how I'd like to do this to be efficient for Teresa's benefit. Does anyone have vehement passion for the other options besides number 1? If not, then you can proceed. I think number 1 looks great. Andy, you okay with number 1?
Absolutely.
John?
Yeah.
Susie?
Yes, it's so hard, seriously. But yes, I love that it's a native flower. That really that's the icing on the cake. I like it.
I think it needs the only thing is, we got to point out that it is a native flower. Otherwise, it looks like a daisy. I mean, if it is a native, I like the line through it. I mean, I think that adds just the 1 and the 2 with the line through it kind of puts it all together and connect to the flower. But my first impression of the flower was, oh, it's a daisy, and I don't know that it's I need a flower.
It's a daisy and a hibiscus, I mean, seriously,
Yeah,
that's what it
yeah.
looks like. But,
That's the only,
But I'm sure like when this gets released to the public for the first time, there'll be a big article in the next newsletter.
Well, what
about
it is,
where
right.
it comes from.
what it is, yeah.
lovely.
And Rich, point of view?
It's fine, it's good, it pops, well, I think one pops the rest.
Your point about on the water tower is kind of what sold me, because that yellow versus blue will pop very nicely in those kinds of settings. So, number one is the consensus, so I think you can move forward on that basis.
Fantastic. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
The last attachment then I'll just walk through in 2 minutes. It's the Lake Barrington editorial calendar.
Explain the columns.
Please, yeah. So we'll take it by week, and our goal is November 1st to launch our LinkedIn page featuring our logo. And so you'll see the date in the first column, what we intend to showcase each week. The second column is channel 1 and channel 2. So the primary channel for that article week, November 1st, would be LinkedIn. We'd have a feature story on LinkedIn. We would promote that LinkedIn article on Facebook, on our website, and to our homeowners associations. So that first channel listed is always the primary channel where that article will be posted, and then the secondary channels are where we would also promote it. So for example, on Facebook, we do just a short little blurb pointing people back to LinkedIn. Week 2, we'd have a post about the CFC tour this evening. We'd have the story itself on our website, and then a short little blurb on LinkedIn, Facebook, or to our homeowners, pushing back to the website. You see, primarily, we're looking at putting all of these stories on the website to drive further traffic to the website, get more people to sign up for e-news, right, and just continue to drive traffic overall to the website.
Therese, what would be a reasonable and then a stretch goal for a percentage increase in e-news signups? And you may not have enough data to make that judgment yet. Is that
What was your question again?
you know, we have about 280 people on e-news. 10% a stretch goal, 20% a stretch
How
goal.
long is it taking us to get to the 280?
Well, since Christ was born.
Pardon?
I thought Lisa announced last
We just
week
went over a
it was
couple of
300.
extra, yeah.
300
But it's been a
6 months, a
slow
year.
struggle, slow struggle.
No, it's been longer.
Years
Yeah.
more.
Maybe more than a year.
Okay, yeah. I think 10% is fair, 10% a month would be my hope with these.
I think it would be remarkable.
I think it'd be very good.
We could pay people. Kind of like census takers.
Sign up to win iPads.
Yeah. Hey, you know, we're letting people to get vaccinated.
Right, so give them lottery tickets.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
We got a lot of great ideas for you. Just stay with us.
Gift cards to the new restaurant.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Thanks, she says, thanks a lot.
When you have channel 2 HOA, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so we have the list of presidents of the HOA homeowners associations with their email address. So when I post to LinkedIn, for example, my goal is to send a link to that story to each of the presidents of the HOAs. And they're welcome then to include it in any newsletters that they may have in their neighborhoods, or forward it on as appropriate to their neighbors, or they may opt not to. But just another channel for us to share.
I've had Jamie Shepman, who's a social and sports person for LDS, because she does even more than the president. She communicates constantly through weekly shorelines and things like that. And then you're just going to get your biggest bang for the buck with LDS.
That's a great point. And Jim's been reaching out to me with his deadline for the Shoreline newsletter as well. So I figure a lot of this content could be used in that too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, there's more feed it directly to Jimmy then too. Yeah.
Then there's 13 associations.
Right.
Those presidents have their own communication channels too, but I think you get hit both.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Associations.
13, yes, they are.
13 kind of associations.
Well, you know, and we all complain about too much email and flooded our inbox and so forth until something happens and we didn't know. And then why the world wasn't I know. So I'm more merciful about getting emails than I used to be. Except for Trustee Burke.
Yeah, he doesn't even open them.
So I welcome any contributions, any other ideas. These are just some subjects to start with, but obviously this will continue into the new year.
Well, what I really like about this too is you're reiterating certain themes consistently, and you know, what I learned in campaigns is reiteration wins over and over and over again. Questions for Trustee Van Ryan on the timeline, the event, the editorial calendar?
Well done.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Thank you, Therese.
Really well done.
And I think it's fair to recognize that she's been able to leverage and pivot off of a lot of the hard work that Trustee Thompson has done in past session of the board, past 2 sessions of the board. And the good news is he gave you a running start and you didn't have to start from a dead stop.
That's right.
So in absentia, thank you, Trustee Thompson, as well. Okay, agenda item D, external relations. I attended the Community Leaders of America conference last week. It's mayors. It was up in Minneapolis. First time in 2 years, Karen, like the meeting you were mentioning for you. A lot of mayors talking about workforce issues, workforce shortage of workers, small business lending. They had a presentation by Wells Fargo. Several companies who were in attendance there talked about cities moving to the cloud and the growing use of artificial intelligence in municipal management and tied to constituent communications. There's a vendor I met up there that I'd like you to Zoom with me because I knew enough to know that you needed to hear it, but not much beyond that. Continue to hear about the problems that the waste and recycling industry is having in managing their work streams. And then the hotel and the apartment folks, both industry associations were there. And Andy, I talked to the CEO of the American Hotel and Lodging Association, and he kind of validated. He does have a member on his staff that he said he'd be happy to have talk with you about what do you do when you're a small town. And they're willing to tell us there's no there if there isn't, but they have a lot of experience. So it was great to see other mayors. Also, the lobbyist for T-Mobile was there, and I said I know enough to know that I'm not happy, but I'm going to try to set up a call for her with the village attorney. She was very gracious about it. She said, I'm not sure what I can do, but she said, this is not uncommon. And we tried to run internal interference to see what we can do. And I said, well, the thing that bothered us the most was the tone and the manner in which we were dealt. I can live with bad news. It's just, don't like to be given the back of the hand gratuitously. So good time to see other mayors from all over the country. And it's great to be with peers. And they have a city council group that meets in conjunction. So anytime any of you want to go, there's 2 groups. Well, there's the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the National League of City, and they're both bipartisan, and they cover the whole country. And then there are independent groups for Democratic and Republican mayors and city council members. This is the Republican one because I sit in those bleachers. But I've attended the Democratic one on behalf of clients in the past. And frankly, the agendas are remarkably the same. Traffic, workforce, economic development. So it's a lot of fun, and the hospitality of Minneapolis was the phrase "Minnesota nice" is really true. It's really true. Very gracious. Mayor Elizabeth Couts of Burnsville was our host. So that's my report. We can go to 10E, Finance, HR, and Administration. Trustee Hayes.
Obviously, we know Debbie hanging up her hats. That was very nice. I think whatever he did today for her, and I wish her well. I have done a lot of reading, more reading than I probably wanted to, on the ARPA funds. They issued interim guidance on this, so I wanted to kind of cover at a very high level some of the technicals of this and how these funds can be used. And I know many of you have read this stuff, but this FAQ that just got published a few weeks ago really got at the heart of it. And I'm thinking about, when I know what we're doing in the village, and I know my knowledge set is limited because I've been here that long. And next week or on the 26th, I'm going to be going around with Karen here. I've already toured the facilities, but we're going to collectively tour because it ties into this as well. I would say this is a high level. What you can use these funds on may seem limited on the surface, It's broad as all get out. And I think the challenge we're going to have is where do we want to spend it has become most important to you. I think that we're going to have some of that. So my intent is I'm going to share a little bit tonight. I don't want to get too into the weeds, but next board meeting, Karen and I will go around and meet with the staff here too. Jim, you're going to be critical of this too, because this all involves, interpreting the law, because you can spend the money and they're going to audit you later. That's never usually an easy thing to get into, right? But at a high level, it's all about the negative impacts of what COVID created. And if you have lost revenue sources, cities, towns who got these funds can replenish those that they lost during it. I believe we really were not adversely affected there, so that's probably not in the bailiwick here. Then there's other uses related to supporting the community as it relates to responding or even setting up things, so training, and there's all kinds of things that go in there. Likewise, improving hospitality, tourism, so we have our restaurants, there's still the ability to spend money in those areas as well. They give some specific examples how you can create safer environments which people can use the facilities, and I know we did some of that last year. Keep going, there's a lot of pages to go through. I think that the one that caught my attention the most, that I think has some relevancy, is the ability to improve our water, sewer, infrastructure, and specifically around the word cybersecurity is another bucket that can be funded. And then security writ large of those facilities, also energy play. You can use funds to develop renewable sources of energy to support water, wastewater. So there's a lot of things that we could contemplate, the community can contemplate what to do with this money. You have to obligate it by the end of December 24. Well, that's a long time. When I say obligate, you don't have to have all the funds spent. You have to obligate them towards a purpose. So that's the key. So we have some time to think smartly through this. So I'm going to put together a presentation. Jim, I'm going to toss it your way. I think there's added things, and then the staff's input. Presented next month is kind of an infomercial on what's possible, and then we can figure out the next steps, where we will take that.
I welcome Andy's immediate reaction from the economic development standpoint. We used to talk about this on a much smaller scale, Rich, that we've always had a great balance sheet because the board and the staff and the treasurer have done a great job in fostering. So we had an advantage that other communities did. We could occasionally lever the balance sheet to buy future earnings. That we could support the creation of businesses or the establishment of businesses that would generate sales tax in the long run. So you leverage, you convert assets to cash flow going forward. Did I say that right, Andy?
Yes.
You're investing for future cash flow.
Right.
Yes.
And so I've got a lot of appetite around that. But what's your reaction from an economic development standpoint on this?
Oh, well, the simple reaction is that I'll take all the money you can give me. No, and I've been pretty consistent with that. I think that, first of all, I had a question back. The very first page you read about saying if we've been economically disadvantaged, and you said, well, I don't know that applies to us.
As it relates to the village balance sheet, but as far as businesses, it's
right. So there's a distinction, but let's just say for a minute that first part. What does that actually mean? That we just take the money and just plow it back into the budget?
Can I answer that?
You know, I mean, I'm not sure what the implication of the first thing that you said is.
Well, I'll let Karen.
Yeah.
The key thing is you got to put the money in a separate account so it can be accounted for.
What the ARPA funds can be used for, certain villages may have lost a lot of money in their, let's say, sales tax revenue and had a deficit in their operating funds.
Right.
Okay. We are a well-run village.
Right.
Before COVID, we had increased the tax levy and we instituted a local sales tax.
Right.
So even though a lot of things went down, a lot of things went up just as COVID was hitting. So we do not meet that threshold from our initial analysis per these requirements to say, some towns are going, hey, we like, I'll just make up a town that maybe had, like a lot of their budget, like maybe no property taxes because it's all based on sales taxes. They may have lost that all, or a lot of it due to COVID. And then that year, with their extra expenses, they had a big deficit.
Right.
So you make up that deficit with.
Right. So
we don't even.
Understood, but let's say that's the case. I mean, are they literally able to say, great, we're just gonna put it in the
Some
coffers?
towns are doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, to make
You're
up for
literally
that.
just gonna use this to pay the bills or to get these deficit balances back in the pot?
Right, because they lost so much. Yeah.
Got it, okay, that's all that was the distinction I was looking
Yeah.
for. So
that doesn't.
and that doesn't, right.
That doesn't appear to affect us. However, assistance to small businesses and nonprofits.
Got it.
Loans or grants, okay, assistance in kind. Efforts to provide physical plan changes to enable social distancing, enhance cleaning efforts, business careers and petitions. There's a lot of things you can do in that arena, in this write-up. And then, like I said, the sewer, water, and broadband.
Right. So the question might be this couple of ways, like we spent money on grant money, for example, so we could, in theory, we pay ourselves back.
Nope, we don't qualify for that.
Okay.
We can't use our money for that.
Okay. So that was the clarification. So what we can use it for then, from an economic development standpoint, hospitality and others, is continued focus on our general economic development plan.
So I'll give you an example. So you have all the restaurants in town, all of them.
Right.
And not all of them have decent outdoor facilities.
Right.
Take, this is one use that would be legitimate. You could take and say, okay, all of you, we want to enhance the ability to social distance your patrons.
Right.
We're going to give you this and we have to do this with it. If you want to apply for
Or improve their handling systems, or any of the things that would make something.
There's some language in here, and the problem is some of this language is kind of broad and at the same time it becomes narrow, so there's some legal error.
So the only other distinction I'm looking for is it's the difference between continuing to support existing businesses or the idea of drawing new businesses in. Is there a
Oh, you
distinction?
can do both.
Yeah, I didn't see any delineation.
Okay, so that's why I'm back to the point of what I would call, what we've never had as a village really is any kind of budget associated with economic development, meaning real economic development, which means we can hire consultants, which means we can build matching grant programs and help people with their signage and their landscaping, which means we can, all the things that we want to do. The question is, can we go in and then, come up with a plan that says we want to invest in our economic development effort, our plan, and bookmark all that money to say so much of that's going to go to matching grant programs for the next 4 years. So much of that's going to go into consultants like these guys who, or the TIF people who help us identify what our opportunities are and find partners for us, developers, etc. Right?
Yeah, as far as these ARPA funds, that's way too broad of a mission statement to use the funds for the purposes is how broad you describe it. But let me rest assured I'll come back next month and we'll give a
Right.
It'll probably take about 20 minutes. So
Kevin asked me for my opinion, and all I was trying to do is get clarity, because I can't offer an opinion if I don't understand. So all I'm saying is, you just told me what I need to know. Annie, you're still thinking way too broadly. Like, you need to say, we're gonna help Zaza's build an outdoor patio, is what it makes.
There's a lot more to it than, we can't even get into it tonight, because what you're saying may not be able to be done.
Okay.
So it's way.
All right, so then my simple answer to you, Kevin, is it's way too early to.
Fair enough.
Other than.
But from the 30,000 foot level, the goal we've always had is to properly leverage our financial strength presently to assure income streams in the future when externalities caused by problems in the state might threaten our welfare.
Right. But I would also say this, looking more broadly than economic development, there's the thoughtful process that Rich is referring to is when we all, as we continue to build our understanding of what we can do in parallel we start to build our understanding of what we want to do.
Yeah.
And then we start reconciling those.
Yeah.
And it's not just first page of the trough, as I've always suggested that it is for economic development. That's just a natural one, but that we would, in a thoughtful process, and it's probably going to be one of your classic Saturday events.
That's exactly what I was.
Where we're sitting down and literally saying, gosh, someone's, here's a pot of money, and here are the guidelines for this money. So let's start really thinking hard about where the biggest bang for the buck comes from and how that serves this community.
What Andy's talking about, and Teresa and Rich, is we get together in the community room on Saturday morning, and we start at 9 and leave at 11.
9 and leave at 11?
I was gonna say, no, we don't leave it.
No, all right, we start at 8 and we leave at 12:30.
What did I do? Put duct tape on my mouth.
Anyhow, I realize it's a huge undertaking, and everything I've tried to read just makes my brain freeze, so any support.
I think the real challenge is going to be for us as a board and for the community is, how do you spend a bucket of money, which is around $600,000 in the most productive way?
Right.
That provides the longest, best value.
Right.
That's going to be the tough challenge.
You bet.
I don't want to be the lone guy in the chair making that decision. I think we can educate and inform and figure out. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying around.
Thank you. If you guys talk about budget, we do need a wall.
We heard about that. Big, beautiful.
But the National League of Cities had a webinar on this last 2 weeks ago. And everyone's still trying to figure this out. So it's going to take a while, and that's why they said we've got till December of 2024 to allocate things. But one of the things they were saying is that if you're going to create a grant program, it has to have all the stuff that the feds do. So what I've been going through with just the OSLA grant is horrendous. We had a rough time trying to do a grant program with a one-page application. If we're going to administer a grant program with these funds, it's not going to look like that, is what my takeaway was from this. Now, maybe it might change, but so that goes to like how to figure out what we want to spend the money on and how we can do it. May also take some consultants to do certain parts of this stuff because it is so complicated.
Yeah.
Like the no such thing as a free lunch. It's really true.
We also could spend money that would inherently be in our budget, would be in the water or sewer, wastewater, that you could free up those funds for some other purpose. So there's some
That's wrong.
And that's why some towns are just replenishing, like if they meet the category of like the deficit, because then they've done that and they can say, okay, we've got these other funds that aren't encumbered by all the federal regulations. So, but unfortunately we can't do that.
Yeah, there's thousands of pages to read on this.
Yeah.
The lawyers in charge have created all these interpretations of what you can and can't do. But
And I have one final question on that from my perspective. Is there a use it or lose it component to this?
there is, if you do not obligate it by the end of December of 2024, it goes.
Spend it
Now, you
by-
can also partner with other communities with these funds too.
You have to spend it by December of 2026, I think it is.
You have to obligate it by 24.
But you have to spend it by the 26th.
Yeah, yeah.
or something. So you've got a time frame you have to.
So for example, the wastewater treatment plant that Wakanda has, which moves its treated effluent through Fiddle Creek in our wetlands recharge area in northern Lake Barrington to the Fox River, could use some additional enhancements perhaps, and we could use funds like that.
Correct.
That's just like,
Or our water tower, or the security around our systems, and there's so.
I like your cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity is a lot of area that's broad.
Yeah.
And called water.
Thank you. Further comments on your report?
No, those are the key things I want to.
Thank you. Thanks for the diligence on that. That's tedious work. Good. 10F, infrastructure and open spaces. Trustee Perkins.
Yes, I am basically going to speak about WACOG. We met last month, obviously, and we, first off, WACOG is partnering with the Barrington 220 School District and the Barrington Area Chamber of Commerce to host a town hall forum with Barrington area legislators. It's going to be an online event. It's going to be held Wednesday, November 10th, 8:30 a.m. to 10 Speakers will include State Representative, I can never pronounce his name correctly, McConchie.
Senator Dan McConchie.
Okay, but see, you say McConchie, he said McConchie. Did you? Okay, I can never get it right. Yeah, okay. That guy. Senators Castro, Gillespie, and Representatives Boss, McLaughlin, Moeller, and Morrison. What is it? It is November 10th at 8:30 to 10:30. It's a virtual.
How do we sign up, Susie?
To register, you can go to www.barringtonchamber.com. Okay. Flint Creek and Spring Creek Watershed Partnership welcomes the new watershed coordinator, Jeff Weiss. I believe you talked about that. Also, there will be 2 different de-icing workshops by the Salt Smart Collaborative. I don't know, Karen and I, we haven't had a chance to talk about it yet because she was gone this month, but we talked about maybe getting together.
Yeah,
things like that.
Well,
That's what I was thinking.
Actually, all of Cuba Township's snowplowing guys attended that. It was a virtual event. It's the same as last Tuesday. And I sent over pizza for them on behalf of the village. So that was kind of their enticement to go. And so we get brownie points for our
Yeah, Karen, she's a real guy, right?
Okay, then as far as transportation goes, there's a new system called Passage System, and it will basically, it's going to be a tool that you can use to find out information. Like there'll be an app. They're actually coming up with an app as well, but you can get information on crashes, construction projects, snowplowing, and just anything that it impacts traffic and congestion across the county. And you can customize maps and see intersection, snapshots from intersections, and sign up for alerts if there's any, traffic type things. This is going to be, you can get more information on that from www.lakecountypassage.com. And the paratransit program, we are are working together with PACE. Lake County and PACE are working together to do Ride Lake County, so they'll be going not just within the towns, but they'll be going all throughout the county, so you can go across lines. That's going to start they're working on it right now. It's going to start May of 22. And that is it.
Questions for Trustee Perkins?
I have one question. Is there any PACE service anywhere in Lake Barrington?
Yes, there's currently one.
PACE?
In Lake Barrington.
Well, it's a dial-a-ride for,
Okay, I wasn't, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we contribute to that. The
Yeah.
village contributes to it.
we do with the other Barrington area communities.
For our residents in Lake Barrington Woods, as well as some in LBS, it's everywhere. It's a big lifesaver because they would get isolated otherwise.
And Bacoa also has a program where you can call them if you have more or different needs for the Barrington Area Council on Aging for specific projects too.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Further questions for Trustee Perkins? If not, 10G, Public Safety, Trustee Schnell.
So Karen and I did have a preliminary contract meeting with the Lake County Sheriff's Department. Well, the contract isn't up until next year. North Barrington has kind of been interested in trying to begin some communication with them. So Karen and I and some representatives from North Barrington met with the business manager for the Sheriff's Department, the undersheriff, and the chief deputy in our conference room here. A good preliminary meeting, some challenges moving forward, finances, as well as the cooperation perhaps from North Barrington, who believes they've got some financial challenges moving forward. So have some time to review all that, but at least we had a start when it comes to that. Lieutenant Kirk mentioned something about the Sheriff's Department. I'll get back to an incident that ties in with the Wakanda Fire Department. But the Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District is waiting for a brand new fire engine. It appears they had a pre-construction meeting that will have a light tower on it, of all things. And these things are rather expensive, the entire operation, but they're getting a new engine. And they're continuing work on building station number 3 down on Barrington Road across from the McGrath Volvo in that area. So they've got Pepper Construction doing a pretty good job of that. They're moving ahead very, very quickly. The Wakanda Fire Department, speaking about fire engines, it's interesting with the pandemic and with this, they have 2 engines that are out because they're waiting for equipment.
Yeah.
In other words, equipment to service these machines you can't get. So they're begging, borrowing, and stealing. They had one engine from one of the other local department that we're using. But it's interesting when we talk, somebody mentioned to me that you can't even get certain meat and items right now because of the transportation, but I meant the supply chain in fire engines, you wouldn't think. But in fact, that's one thing that's going out. They had the Wakanda Fire Department had a $3 million FEMA staffing grant that they got for adequate fire and emergency response. We're talking about getting grants. That's a big operation in Wakanda, but they did their tap dance and got $3 million.
Well, it's to hire new people.
Right.
But it covers their salary for 2 years, I think he said.
I think so, right.
And then they're on the hook for it forevermore.
The interesting part about they only had 25 new applicants. Normally they get 40 when they go out looking for new applicants. So they're even having a tough time getting new recruits for the department. The tie-in between the Wakanda Fire Department and the Lake County Sheriff's Department came up on the Labor Day weekend. And it's an incident that I communicated with the fire department as well as the Sheriff's Department and headed to do an LBS. Just a concern and awareness, and it worked out okay. Someone had a seizure or potential heart attack at the marina at Lake Barrington Shores. And there was a nurse there who called 911 saying, we got a problem. Said, it's at the marina. Communication between the 911 dispatch center, which is not the fire department, but they have universal dispatch, said Lake Barrington Shores, not the marina. So when the Wakanda Fire Department came here, and the main gate, they were directed to the lodge. They got into the lodge, no problem. Took them a while to take all their equipment back out of the lodge. Then they went to the pool. Nobody at the pool. Finally, they were directed to the marina. The nurse, who's a nurse with Good Shepherd Hospital, was working on this individual, thought he lost him. Fortunately, came back, Wakanda Fire Department finally got on the scene. The nurse said 25 minutes. The chief deputy with the department said it was closer to 7 or 8. Your time perception kind of goes lost. Fortunately, the guy had a seizure. So the reaction was, well, it was no big deal. He had a seizure. It could have been a very tragic event. So I just wanted an awareness that that's why the Sheriff's Department needs to know an address, or in the 911 dispatch needs to get it. And we also are trying to tighten up with our LBS public safety. It used to be that when emergency vehicles come to anywhere, that they were directed to where they're supposed to go. In this particular instance, it got messed up and they didn't. So fortunately, it all worked out okay, but it's just an awareness that there can be a problem, especially if you do, and we're talking about non-emergency numbers and calling 911. If in fact you call 911, be specific, but then the 911 dispatch has got to be specific as to where they're sending whatever equipment they're going to send it to. So it's just a, it's kind of a mess up could have been bad, turned out okay, but it's something that, as I said, I've talked to the sheriff's department, and I've talked to the Wakanda Fire Department, and so they're both aware of, and so that in fact moving forward, that we don't have those problems. So it's as I said, potential worked out okay. But I was in contact with both the people that knew the victim and the nurse, and they both were rattling cages about what's going on. So anyway, and that's basically it. The only, I'm not in charge of gated communities anymore, but I heard in the parking lot the tall grass was sold out. Wrong, according to the person over there. They have 5 remaining lots to sell. They're not sold out. Their model is for sale in 4 other homes that they're building. So they're still working, according to them.
Well, sold out, they have pulled all their building permits. In their minds, they're sold out, even though all those things aren't sold.
Sold out.
They're building everything for a spec.
Yeah, right, yeah. Okay. So anyway, end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Trustee Sheldon?
Well, my mother always told me that if one bad thing is said, that you should always say one good thing. So in response to the almost very unfortunate incident that happened, we had an incident in our home a couple weeks ago. We had some friends over. We're sitting outside. All of a sudden, our fire alarm goes off. And we walk in, I walked through the house looking, what's going on. On top of our piano, I put out some Halloween decorations and some nice floral. It was a very beautiful, on top of we have a white grand piano. And my daughter, God bless her, lit some candles that were about 20 years old. They're like the tall candles. They were decoration, not to be lit, but she didn't know, and she was trying to help because we had guests coming. So I have a bonfire on the top of my piano, and I'll tell you, those guys, ADT, of course, called, immediately, sent a notification, and Barrington Countryside was there in like 7 minutes. It was the longest 7 minutes of my life. Thank goodness the sprinklers didn't go off and destroy our entire home. But yeah, it's just important. People, know where, my husband knew exactly where the fire extinguishers were. We have one on each floor, and he went to the first one, and it did not work. And so he went immediately to the second one, thank goodness. So it's a lesson learned. Make sure your fire extinguishers are up to date and know where they are. But I'll tell you what, they were there, and he told ADT, tell them we've got it under control, we're good. But they insisted, and the fellow was so incredibly wonderful. He said, are you sure you don't want me to just check everything out and look at it? And I'm like, it's right here, but take a look, whatever, if you'd like. And I said, I'm so sorry to bother you, we didn't really need you. He said, you know what, we were having a party, but he said, you know what, that's why we're there. That's why we are there. And we're there to be here for you guys. So it was a great experience, all the way around. And the only thing lost is the top of my piano. And a few Halloween decorations, but don't worry, I've replaced those. Yeah, so anyway, so that was a good thing that I have to say.
I think both departments that service our community, Wakanda and the Barrington Countryside, also have a program for fire alarms, for smoke detectors. So if you need to, you can contact them. As a matter of fact, I think Wakanda will even come in and replace it. I think Barrington Countryside will too.
Yeah.
So if it's a good thing to make sure those things are working.
Yeah, make sure you get your batteries. We're good on the batteries, but yeah.
Yeah, but
all that stuff is on sale this month because it's like fire prevention.
Excellent. Good talk, right?
One final point, just to point out, with that incident, the nurse said, so when the paramedic got there, here they're waiting, they're really urgent. The guy is slowly walking up, and they're saying, well, come on, hurry up, we got an emergency. Pat Kane, who's one of the deputy chiefs of Wakanda, said, we tell our guys not to run in an emergency like that because with all the equipment, they could fall and hurt themselves. So just again, you know, your perception of their responding perhaps can't be tempered by what they're told how to work in the scene too.
Thank you, John. Further questions for Trustee Scheller? And there is no agenda item, 11, there's no old business, there's no 13 resolutions, no 14 new business, there's 15-second opportunity for the public to address the board. There's no one in the room, no closed session, so Chair would like a motion to adjourn by Burke, second. By Perkins, all those in favor?
Aye.